Chapter 512. This time, Han Fei was sure that all the treasures left by Ren Tianfei had been taken by him. When he went out, he entered the cave where he first came from and saw the corpses that were still lying or embedded in the rock wall. Outside the cave, those white sword marks were still swaying and wandering slowly. Oh! It seems that there will be no more treasures in the future. This time, Ren Tianfei didn't leave anything else, nor did he leave any treasures for Han Fei in the unknown place. Han Fei knew that when he broke the third barrier of the indestructible body art, he would be able to see this old guy. However, it didn't seem to be here, but in the Thousand-Star City or somewhere else. Han Fei didn't intend to go out immediately. He still had one more thing to do. He already had 5 creatures, and it was time to fuse his third contractual spiritual beast. In the demon purification pot, 5 creatures lined up in a row. An exotic iron wall lobster with 2 big pincers that could be separated from its body and were very hard. A mysterious mutant devil fish that could create fear. An exotic snake-tentacled shark-faced octopus with 9 big heads and strong attack power. Han Fei really wanted to get rid of this thing and find another creature that he could fuse with. An exotic divine seaweed octopus that could control seaweeds remotely. An exotic abyssal water serpent that was about to turn into a flood dragon with amazing defense power. Looking at these creatures, Han Fei felt that after this fusion, he would definitely be able to create a super strong creature, but he didn't know if it could surpass the legendary level. After all, Little Gold was already a legendary ultra quality. Back then, although the 5 creatures that fused with Little Gold were all exotic creatures, none of them were mysterious, right? Besides, there was no big octopus that could talk, nor was there an abyssal water serpent that seemed to have a dragon bloodline. Demon purification pot demons, iron wall lobster, mutant devil fish, snake-tentacled shark-faced octopus, divine seaweed octopus, abyssal water serpent consumption, 300,000 points of spiritual energy fusion result, unknown. Do you want to fuse? Han Fei was slightly taken aback. Something seems wrong. When he fused with the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, it only cost him 10,000 points of spiritual energy. When he fused with Little Gold, it cost him 500,000 points, which was 50 times higher. But at this moment, it only cost him 3 million points, which was only 6 times more than when he fused with Little Gold. Huh? There's no pattern to it. Could it be that these life forms aren't of a high enough level? Han Fei frowned slightly. Forget it. Since when did he have the right to look down on a creature with 3 million points of spiritual energy? In the past, he wouldn't have dared to even think about it. Fuse. After about 10 minutes, Han Fei was suddenly pressed down by something. It was soft and squishy. When he touched it, it was still a little sticky, as if his body was smeared with a layer of oil. Han Fei quickly lifted the thing that covered his head. After a long time, he was stuck by a big sucker. Han Fei didn't know what to say. Suckers? Tentacles? Octopus? For a moment, Han Fei felt that a dragon bumped into his chest. Why an octopus? Although there were 2 octopuses among the fused creatures this time, both of them were hideous. A monstrous octopus, that was simply ugly beyond the horizon. It was a divine seaweed octopus. Its entire body was green and disgusting. Han Fei was desperate. Why did I synthesize such a thing? It would be good if you could turn into a big snake. Anyway, it was handsome. Just like the abyssal water dragon. How handsome. An octopus. How ugly it must be. After struggling for a long time, Han Fei finally broke free from the suckers and crawled out from under the big octopus. He was dumbfounded when he saw this thing. In front of him, 2 big eyes were staring at him. Moreover, the colors of these 2 eyeballs were different. One of them was blue, an extremely clear blue, while the other was red. At this moment, both of them were staring at him. Except for the eyes, this big octopus was entirely dark red. Han Fei's heart sank when he saw this color. However, the only thing that relieved him was that its tentacles didn't mutate and its head was a normal octopus head. Who? Han Fei was relieved. He could accept it as long as it wasn't a monstrous octopus. Of course, it wasn't good-looking. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp was very handsome. Little Gold was also very cool. As for this guy, it was just a fat ball. There was nothing special about it. A string of information popped up in his eyes. Contractual spiritual pet. Name: a 9-death soul-splitting octopus. Introduction: an ancient mutant with an extremely weak bloodline of a divine beast. The suckers have the ability to absorb spiritual energy, and essence blood. The 9-death soul-splitting octopus has extremely strong spiritual power. It can ignore the spiritual attacks of all creatures within 10 levels higher than itself. It has infinite strength, can offset 90% of the attack when it is attacked, and has a super strong self-healing ability. Level 38 Equality: a legendary, can grow, contains spiritual energy. 4888 Food: a carnivorous, prefers shrimps and crabs. Battle skills: limb rebirth, blood rebirth. Note: in its ultimate state, the host can share the blood rebirth with the 9-death soul-splitting octopus and can only be used 9 times in a lifetime. Life sharing is temporarily unavailable. Shoot, Han Fei was shocked. This thing was quite powerful. It could ignore spiritual attacks. It could offset 90% of the attack when it was attacked. There seemed to be no limit to the broken limb rebirth. Blood rebirth? This was a fucking undying divine technique. Wow! Han Fei's eyes widened. Good heavens, I can be undying too. Didn't this mean that he had 9 extra lives? He didn't know when the ultimate state would be, but it was awesome anyway. Fuck. Hee hee, Han Fei's eyes immediately narrowed. The more he looked at this big octopus, the more he liked it. They were both ultra quality, but Little Gold was much worse than the 9-death soul-splitting octopus. Ha ha ha. Han Fei couldn't help but giggle. This was a great surprise. Besides, it seemed that other people could only have 2 contractual spiritual beasts, but he already had a third. It seemed that the restriction effect of contractual spiritual beasts didn't work on him. Just when Han Fei was dumbfounded, a voice suddenly rang. How silly. Who's there? Han Fei's first reaction was to look elsewhere. However, he suddenly shivered and stared at the big octopus. Are you talking? Yes. Hiss. Han Fei gasped hard. Damn it. Contractual spiritual beasts can talk too. Damn it, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold couldn't talk. Han Fei asked, why can you talk? The big octopus glanced at Han Fei with its 2 eyes, as if saying, I don't want to talk to you. Han Fei could clearly feel the feeling of being despised. Because its eyes were crooked, clearly telling Han Fei that it was arrogant and didn't want to talk to him. Han Fei frowned immediately. Hey, you're too much. I'm your master. You have to give me some respect. The big octopus glanced at Han Fei again, and its body began to slowly shrink, finally shrinking to only half a meter in size. Take me back. The big octopus looked at Han Fei with its crooked eyes, making Han Fei want to slap it. Han Fei said to himself, it's mine. After all, it's mine. Calm down. Han Fei snorted. You haven't met your brother yet. You can get to know each other first. Then Han Fei summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold. All of a sudden, the 3 legendary creatures stood in a triangular formation, staring at each other. Little Gold was a little silly. With a flap of his wings, he rubbed against Han Fei. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was an ADHD teenager. When he saw the 9-death soul-splitting octopus, he directly approached it, forcing the big octopus to shrink its head back. Go away. Smack. The big octopus slapped at him with its tentacles, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was sent flying and rolled many times on the ground. How could the 9-tailed mantis shrimp stand this? When it saw that this thing actually dared to hit it, it immediately rushed forward with a whoosh, and its 2 sweeping limbs swung out with a whoosh. In Han Fei's eyes, the big octopus stretched out 2 tentacles. In an instant, it was beaten into its body by the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. However, 2 tentacles immediately entangled the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Immediately afterward, the big octopus' whole body was glued to the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. The suckers of the octopus were so tight that the tentacles hung on the 9-tailed mantis shrimp's sweeping limbs, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp couldn't even move. However, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was not weak either. The 9-star chain was thrown out and buckled the big octopus. For a moment, the 2 of them rolled into a ball. Seeing this, Han Fei hurriedly said, Okay, 9-tailed mantis shrimp, let go. Little fatty, stop too. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp seemed to feel that he couldn't deal with this thing, so he obediently stopped. And the big octopus clung to the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Change your name. Han Fei sneered. You don't like it? Little fatty is such a noble name. You don't like it? The big octopus glanced at Han Fei. Change. Han Fei thought to himself, I'm not used to your bad temper. Do you dare to challenge your master? Don't push your luck. Come back. With a thought from Han Fei, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and little fatty disappeared into his body. Little Gold tilted his head and looked at him stupidly, and then disappeared into Han Fei's body. Han Fei clicked his tongue. 3. If I get a few more contractual spiritual beasts of this level, will I be able to retire? The author said, the 3rd contractual spiritual beast has appeared. Please forgive my hobby of naming. The climax of the level 3 fishery is coming. What will happen next? Listen to the next chapter. End of this chapter. Chapter 5:13. Han Fei tested the attachment state of Little Fatty. After calling it 2 or 3 times in a row, Little Fatty reluctantly attached itself to him. Besides, Little Fatty's attachment state was also strange. The 9-star chain appeared in the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, Little Gold had wings, and Little Fatty's attachment state turned out to be 2 eyes. Han Fei was stunned. The problem was that the 2 eyes were shadows that grew on his shoulders. As a result, Han Fei could see everything without any blind spots. As for the octopus tentacles, they didn't appear at all. Only when Han Fei wanted to attack with his tentacles would he stretch out his tentacles from the void. After sensing it for a while, Han Fei knew why Little Fatty was said to be very strong. He had taken out a middle-grade spirit artifact shield, but it had been strangled by its tentacles, causing the shield to explode. Han Fei could directly feel how strong it was at that moment. It was probably no less than a full-strength blow without the majestic mystic spell. Han Fei was satisfied with this because this was just a test he did casually. If it was a real battle, the destructive power should be far more than this. Of course, there were also shortcomings. Little Fatty's attack speed was not fast, not as fast as the 9-star chain, and certainly not as fast as Little Gold. But in close combat, even the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold combined might not be as powerful as Little Fatty. There were advantages and disadvantages. In general, Han Fei was very satisfied. However, what made Han Fei a little speechless was that when he wanted to attach the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, Little Gold, and Little Fatty at the same time, a problem occurred. No matter how Han Fei tried, the final result was that he could only attach 2 at the same time. Once 2 of them were already attached, he couldn't call out the 3rd one no matter how hard he tried. Sure enough, Han Fei realized that he was not omnipotent. Why did most people only have 2 contractual spiritual beasts? There must be a reason. At least, he could switch between them. Everyone could only attach 2 contractual spiritual beasts to themselves during the battle. If he counted his spiritual beasts, he would have 3. In fact, this was reasonable. Otherwise, if he had 10 or 8 contractual spiritual beasts in the future and could attach them all, wouldn't he become a freak? After leaving the cave, the sword marks swimming in the sea seemed to have found their target and instantly surged towards him. This time, Han Fei ignored them and swam back with the big shield. As for the deeper regions, he didn't plan to go there. Now, Han Fei didn't have the ability to go. This time, the treasure land left by Ren Tianfei was not bad, which had greatly improved his strength in many aspects. Even so, he was still not strong enough. The sword currents outside were too terrifying. Even if he became a peak-level dangling fisher, he might not be able to reach the secret realm in the end. Since he couldn't go, he might as well not go. As for the mystic realm in front of him, he would think about it when he had the chance in the future. Forget it if you don't have a chance. There were so many mystic realms in the world, how could he explore all of them? On his way back, he passed by the dragon boat but didn't board it. The main reason was that he did not want to have too much contact with Xiao Sei and the time dragon carp. Little time was still being fostered here, but big time was too terrifying and couldn't be provoked. If he went, he would probably lose a lot of food. It was not worth it. 3 days later, Han Fei swam across the Dead Sea. A series of strange events happened to him. He was hit by infrasonic waves several times, and was almost sucked into a big hole that suddenly appeared in the middle. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know what happened to Zhang Xuanyu and the others when they first went there and how many people went out. When he came here, he didn't know how he got here, so when he went out, he could only swim blindly. In particular, Han Fei encountered a lot of weird underwater vortexes and deep pits, where many strange creatures appeared. During the period, Han Fei also encountered a big exotic insect, which looked a bit like a mess-swallowing worm, but it was 2 or 3 times larger than a mess-swallowing worm. Besides, it had 2 heads and looked very creepy. Therefore, although it was an exotic creature, Han Fei beat it back with a punch and didn't intend to subdue it. After this fusion, Little Fatty came out. Han Fei also realized that it was hard to fuse exotic creatures into creatures that were better than legendary ones. If he pursued perfection, then he would need to consider stronger creatures when he caught them later. At least, he had to start with exotic mutated creatures, and the mysterious ones were the best. In the end, with the help of Little White, it took Han Fei 2 days to get out. When Han Fei appeared in the Hurricane Sea, he no longer had time to look for the scattered treasures. For one thing, he didn't want to be involved in the abyssal chasm again. For another, he felt that there were other problems with the abyssal chasm. Why did he appear in the Dead Sea? That was also an unsolved mystery. Besides, Han Fei felt that the benefits in ordinary secret realms shouldn't be able to exceed the benefits he got. He didn't know where Zhang Xuanyu and the others were, so he had to meet them as soon as possible. Han Fei ignored the hurricane and directly controlled the fishing boat to go all the way out. He had wanted to refine another wind god boat. However, refining a wind god boat consumed a lot of spiritual energy. Besides, it didn't seem worth it to travel hundreds of thousands of kilometers. As long as he found Zhang Xuanyu or Xia Shaochan, he would naturally have a wind god boat. At the periphery of the abyssal chasm. After nearly 20,000 kilometers of the Hurricane Sea, that is, 50,000 kilometers away from the abyssal chasm, He Kaiyang was flipping through a fish skin map. Huh? That's not right. The location on the map is clearly here, but how can there be a secret realm here? Do I have to go deeper? He Kaiyang frowned, feeling a little embarrassed. If he went deeper, he would enter the Hurricane Sea. In everyone's opinion, as long as he entered the Hurricane Sea, he would enter the abyssal chasm. And the abyssal chasm was so famous that it was the most dangerous place in the level 3 fishery. No one would risk their life to go in. He Kaiyang gritted his teeth. Forget it. I can't go in. Just when He Kaiyang was about to leave, he was suddenly stunned. He saw a fishing boat flying out of the abyssal chasm on the sea. Wow! This person sure has guts. He Kaiyang hurriedly prepared to leave. As far as he knew, those who could survive the abyssal chasm couldn't be simple. However, before he ran far, he found that the fishing boat behind him had already chased him. He Kaiyang just wanted to avoid Han Fei, but he was not afraid. After all, he was quite confident that he dared to come to the abyssal chasm for treasure hunting. He was one of the top 3 dangling fishers in the Black Tortoise Town. He was one of the top 3 super experts in the Black Tortoise Town. His arrogance made him choose to avoid Han Fei. Seeing that Han Fei was close, He Kaiyang couldn't help but control the fishing boat to fly up curiously, trying to see who it was. However, when he saw it, he almost pissed his pants. Han Fei. Just when He Kaiyang exclaimed, a fishing line appeared on his fishing boat out of thin air. He Kaiyang immediately put away the fishing boat and crushed a flash stone. When Han Fei arrived, he was quite bummed. Isn't his reaction too fast? Xiao Bai, let's go after him. Half a day later. He Kaiyang hid in a trench, horrified. Han Fei disappeared in the abyssal chasm for more than 2 months. How did he come out? Wasn't it said that no one who entered the abyssal chasm could come out? Just when He Kaiyang was moving cautiously, he suddenly saw a gigantic octopus swimming close from 1,000 meters away. The octopus immediately stopped when it saw him. Then, the octopus's body gradually changed and melted into the environment. Huh? What a weird octopus. He Kaiyang's eyes glittered. He had run into a special creature. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the place where the octopus disappeared at full speed. As he scanned with his senses, he found a stone-like creature that seemed to be peeping at him. Hee hee. It's definitely an exotic creature. I'm going to be rich. Huh? Just when He Kaiyang unleashed his attacks and slashed at it, he found that they were blocked by some rocks at the bottom of the sea. The octopus was going to run away. He couldn't allow it to run away. He immediately chased it, but a smooth stone on the ground suddenly bounced up and sucked him with an enormous suction force. He Kaiyang was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. He immediately took out a flash stone. But before he squeezed the stone, a fishing hook suddenly appeared in his hand and swept away the flash stone. In the next second, a golden fist smashed down. He Kaiyang didn't even have a chance to defend himself. After the exploded seawater calmed down, he found that a person was standing 10 meters before him. Hello, how are you? Chapter 5:14. On the surface of the sea. He Kaiyang sat on the boat obediently. He didn't know how Han Fei found him. However, from the beginning to the end, Han Fei only used one punch to defeat him easily. This made He Kaiyang very discouraged. Although he knew that Han Fei wasn't an ordinary person, he was still devastated that he was defeated by an advanced dangling fisher so easily. At this moment, before Han Fei said anything, He Kaiyang said, I know what you want to ask. I do. Oh. Han Fei's eyes glittered. Then tell me. If I'm satisfied, I'll let you go. Knowing that he couldn't get away from Han Fei, He Kaiyang could only tell him everything in detail. You must want to know where your companions are, don't you? Han Fei was briefly stunned. You know my companions? He Kaiyang smiled bitterly. Ever since you came out of the steps into the sea, the information about your companions has been publicized. It's suspected that someone bought the information from the Spectre and made it public. Han Fei was infuriated. Someone did it on purpose. Damn it, don't let me catch you, or I'll kill you. He Kaiyang said, now, almost everybody in the level 3 fishery knows the Thug Academy. Except for you, the other 4 should be near the Seaborn Grassland. The Seaborn Grassland? Han Fei was stunned. Are you saying that all 4 of them are there? He Kaiyang nodded. Yes. All of them. At first, you caused great turmoil on the steps into the sea. Later, someone went to find you and ran into those who intended to kill you. After a battle, the man killed dozens of peak-level dangling fishers and fled with heavy wounds. Han Fei's eyes turned cold. Who was it? Was it a man or a woman? Han Fei was sure that it wasn't Xia Shaochan or Zhang Xuanyu. Xia Shaochan knew about it, but he deliberately avoided Xia Shaochan at that time. Zhang Xuanyu was even less likely. He had stayed in the abyssal chasm for so long and knew nothing about the outside world. So, there were only Lu Renquang and Luo Xiaobai left. It seemed that they had a great opportunity to kill dozens of peak-level dangling fishers in a row. Instead of beating around the bush, He Kaiyang looked at Han Fei and said, "It was Lu Renquang." Lu Renquang? Han Fei nodded slightly. And then? Since He Kaiyang said that Lu Renquang escaped with heavy injuries, he must have escaped. However, why were they all gathered in the seaborne prairie? He Kaiyang, then, I'm not too sure about the specifics. However, half a month ago, someone on the wanted list seemed to have fought in the seaborne prairie, but nobody knew exactly what happened. He only knew that a person named Luo Xiaobai was suddenly fighting Imo Qianshang, who ranked first on the wanted list, in the seaborne prairie. After that, the battle became more and more intense. After developing for a few days, the other four appeared there except for you. They're still fighting. Still fighting? Han Fei found it hard to believe. What kind of battle lasted for more than half a month? He Kaiyang seemed to know what was on Han Fei's mind. He said, the turmoil in the seaborne prairie hasn't been completely settled. Also, it's a good place for prolonged battles and hiding. It's not strange that the battle has gone on for so long. Han Fei thought for a moment and asked, they're still tied? He Kaiyang shook his head. I don't know. Anyway, when I learned the news, many experts on the wanted list had gone there. Not only the people on the wanted list, but the dragon boat and the ghost boat also met there, and they even fought each other. Huh? Han Fei interrupted him. No, wait a moment. Did you say that the dragon boats and the spectre had an encounter? He Kaiyang nodded. Yes. It was a 1 versus 2 battle. The spectre fought the 2 dragon boats head-on. It was suspected that a hanging fisher expert took action. However, there were no casualties. It was just a brief encounter. Han Fei was slightly confused. That didn't make sense. Didn't they say that the dragon boats and the spectre hadn't fought for 30 years? It seemed that the dragon boats had been traumatized by the battle. Why were the dragon boats so stubborn this time? Taking a deep breath, Han Fei asked, is there any more information? He Kaiyang was silent for a moment. I don't like to go there. However, there's something else that might be related to you. About me? He Kaiyang nodded. The steps into the sea has become a dangerous place. Han Fei. He Kaiyang explained, about half a month after you left, the steps into the sea gradually stabilized. However, a month ago, the steps into the sea suddenly rioted. A large number of creatures appeared out of thin air and fought with human beings. During the period, a divine weapon was born. Do you know what it means when a divine weapon is born? A lot of people died. In the end, it's still unknown who got the divine weapon. The divine weapon hasn't been found yet. However, many people dare not go to the steps into the sea anymore. Han Fei was lost for words. What does that have to do with me? I didn't lose the divine weapon. However, Han Fei was quite depressed. A divine weapon? Where did it come from? All the good things were taken by him. He didn't even see a divine weapon on the real altar. How did a divine weapon pop up out of nowhere? Han Fei couldn't figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. What he cared about now was not the steps into the sea, but the seaborne prairie. Thinking of something, Han Fei looked at He Kaiyang. Do you have a wanted list? He Kaiyang nodded and gave a booklet to Han Fei. My wanted list was posted half a month ago. I don't know if it's useful to you. Han Fei nodded and suddenly looked at He Kaiyang. Your sea-swallowing seashell. He Kaiyang's face stiffened. Then, like a deflated balloon, he gave the sea-swallowing seashell to Han Fei. However, at least he was relieved. Han Fei didn't seem to want to kill him, which was great. As long as he was alive, he could always get more sea-swallowing seashell. Without any hesitation, Han Fei set off for the seaborne prairie. On his way, he found that Lu Renquang was on the wanted list. Also, his ranking wasn't low. 21st on the wanted list. Name, Lurinquang. Gender, male. Profession, amorous spiritual beast, spiritual clam. Contractual spiritual beasts, thousand-blade turtle, unknown, with the power to swallow everything. Specialties, violent, saber and sword. Ambidexterity, bloodthirsty broadsword, knife. Burial technique. Bounty, 3 million. Other rewards, 300 caddies of spiritual spring, a demon-level high-quality art, a high-quality spiritual weapon, and 300 spiritual fruits. Remarks, extremely dangerous. The strongest blow of the bloodthirsty broadsword is comparable to that of a hanging fisher. Remarks, one of the 5 members of the thug legend. He is very strong. Kill him immediately if you meet him. He is suspected to have a legendary contractual spiritual beast. Han Fei was slightly surprised. Lu Rinquang seems to be doing quite well. He has a new contractual spiritual beast, and it's a legendary one. Han Fei believed it immediately. What suspicions? It was definitely suspicions. Although the fatty seemed to be interested in everything, he only cared about the good ones. He had been looking for a stronger contractual spiritual beast for a long time. As for Luo Xiaobai, Han Fei didn't find her. After all, Luo Xiaobai didn't show up until half a month ago. At that time, He Kaiyang had already gone on an adventure, so he wasn't on the wanted list. The fishing boat under his feet was actually not slow. It was one of the best fishing boats Han Fei kept. It could travel about 33,000 kilometers in a day, about twice as slow as his wind god boat. However, Han Fei believed that since Xia Shaochan and the other 3 had gathered together, they wouldn't be able to escape. Few people in the entire level 3 fishery could beat them in a team battle. Back in the Fiery Mountain, Lu Rinquang, Zhang Xuanyu, and Xia Shaochan were able to defeat Li Honey's team of 5. Now that they were in the level 3 fishery and had their own opportunities, their strength was no longer what it used to be. Han Fei was not so worried anymore. 5 days later, Han Fei finally reached the edge of the seaborne prairie. However, when he was about 50,000 kilometers away from here, he had already changed his appearance and turned into a random passerby. Because 50,000 kilometers away, he found a dragon boat. Han Fei boarded the dragon boat. With the Thousand Faces technique, no one noticed him. His first goal was not to make a deal, but to find someone. There were 100 dragon boats in the level 3 fishery, and he only needed to find 2. One was the ship that he had boarded for the first time. However, after wandering around the trading market and finding that it wasn't, he immediately left the dragon boat. From start to finish, it didn't take more than the time for an incense stick to burn. At this moment, Han Fei saw another dragon boat 10,000 kilometers away from the seaborne prairie. There must be something wrong with the seaborne prairie. Otherwise, why would several dragon boats suddenly appear here? In the information trading hall of the dragon boat, the staff asked, "Excuse me, what do you want to buy?" Han Fei replied, "I want a copy of the wanted list and news about Mo Qianshang." Chapter 5:15. He wanted Mo Qianshang's information because Xia Xiaochan's information was too eye-catching. Since the battle in the seaborne prairie was still going on, it didn't matter who he found. After spending 10,000 mid-quality pearls, Han Fei got accurate information about Mo Qianshang. When Han Fei got the information, he found that He Kaiyang's information was too outdated. At this moment, the seaborne prairie had become a huge stopper. It was said that 1/3 of the experts on the wanted list had come. Besides, they were divided into several forces and had joined the battle. Why were they fighting? Because Luo Xiaobai and Mo Qianshang seemed to be competing for something. Luo Xiaobai didn't get all of it. It seemed that she and Mo Qianshang each got part of it. As a matter of fact, the experts on the wanted list were divided into several groups. Among them, Luo Xiaobai's team was in one group, Mo Qianshang and several experts on the wanted list were in another group, and the rest were divided into several teams. 2 days ago, Luo Xiaobai's team and Mo Qianshang's team fought in the Seaweed City Wall. Both sides suffered losses. 1 day ago, Mo Qianshang fought another team. An armorist ranked 19th on the wanted list died on the spot. 10 hours ago, Luo Xiaobai's team encountered another team of experts on the wanted list. A soul warrior ranked 26th on the wanted list died on the spot. After that, there was no more news about them. Han Fei was very familiar with the last place they appeared in, the sponge area. After getting the news, Han Fei left the dragon boat and stayed for no more than half an hour. Because the intelligence trading hall and the employment hall were right next door. So, when Han Fei passed the employment hall, he immediately heard someone shouting, "1 missing. An armorist." It said that Zhao Mo, the 39th expert on the wanted list, entered the Seaborn Prairie alone. Does anyone want to hunt him? 2 missing. A spirit gatherer and a manipulator. Our target is the other end of the wormfish abyss. Hunting exotic creatures. Anyone interested, come quickly. 100-person team. Our target is the sponge area. We still need 22 people. Hunting the thug legend or Mo Qianshang's team. Anyone interested, come quickly. Scavenging team. All hunters. 1 more person. We'll set off as soon as we have enough people. Han Fei paused for a moment. He was wondering if he should sneak into the crowd. However, he immediately smiled. There seemed to be no need to do that. There were several dragon boats here. Although he didn't know where the Spectre ship was, it must be in this area, but it didn't show itself. There were so many people here, so it was impossible for there to be only a 100-man team. There should be a lot of such teams in the Seaborn Prairie. Under such circumstances, there was not much meaning in sneaking into a team. On the contrary, it was more convenient and faster to move alone. Figuring that out, Han Fei left the dragon boat alone and sailed to the Seaborn Prairie. However, after only traveling for 1,000 kilometers, a fishing boat descended from the sky and blocked his way. "Hey! Brother, give me your sea-swallowing seashell." Han Fei tilted his head slightly. The fishing boat had been covered by seaweed, and vines were sweeping at him. On the opposite fishing boat, the soul warrior jumped onto Han Fei's boat with a rod. Han Fei smiled. 2 manipulators. An advanced dangling fisher. Do you think you can stop me? Boom. Before the soul warrior could use his combat skill and was about to talk to Han Fei, a golden fist mark had already landed in front of him. Bam! The rod was broken by the punch, and the entire chest of the soul warrior was dented. Pooh! The soul warrior had never thought that he would be defeated before he could say a word in a battle of the same level. On the opposite fishing boat, the 2 armorists were appalled. They put away the fishing boat, crushed their flash stones, and fled without a trace. Han Fei didn't bother to deal with the 2 manipulators in the water. Dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers pierced out of his body and sank into the water. How could a regular advanced dangling fisher resist an ultra-quality spiritual weapon? Dozens of knife lights flashed and pierced through one of the manipulators in the water. The other one lost an arm. He crushed his flash stone at the critical moment and escaped. Everything was within Han Fei's perception. He could even sense that the manipulator flashed to the edge of his perception range and then quickly swam out. Han Fei grinned. The flash stones were less and less useful to him. His perception range of 5,000 meters happened to be the maximum distance that the flash stones could flash to. Also, the flash stones couldn't flash dozens of kilometers away every time. Sometimes, they might only flash to a range of 1,000 meters, which was completely random. Han Fei was confident that as long as he absorbed more soul crystals or improved his perception range, those people wouldn't be able to escape unless they used the flash stones more than twice in a row. Otherwise, if he deliberately chased them, they wouldn't be able to escape. Of course, Han Fei didn't intend to chase those ghost boat runners at this moment. He was in a hurry. It was a journey of less than 10,000 kilometers. Han Fei had been intercepted by ghost boats 8 times. It was not hard to imagine how chaotic the Seaborn Prairie was. The ghost boat runners had already regarded this place as their backyard. Sometimes, they weren't planning to run ghost boats, but when they saw that Han Fei was alone and only an advanced dangling fisher, they couldn't help but be tempted. It was even the first time that they had robbed someone. Unfortunately, none of the fishing boats could resist Han Fei for more than 10 seconds. Almost all of them ran away the moment they saw him. To save time, Han Fei simply swam above the seaborne prairie. Many people saw Han Fei's behavior. Their first reaction was surprise. What did this guy mean? Did he want to go down from the seaborne prairie? Or was he looking for poison in the reeds? Among the reeds, many people were searching for something at the periphery. Some were looking for the green arrow poisonous frogs, and some were hunting some creatures under the reeds. All of a sudden, an enormous golden fist mark smashed down from the sky, leaving a giant hole in the reeds. Someone nearby exclaimed, "Shoot! Someone is going down from above." Someone said in disdain, "Only idiots would do that. This place is full of spirit-swallowing bugs. He's asking to be killed if he goes down." Someone was confused. "That guy seemed very strong. I couldn't have taken that fist mark." Han Fei's behavior didn't raise any attention. Those who met him only thought that he was a relatively strong expert. However, they didn't find anyone who looked like Han Fei on the wanted list. So, they simply thought that he was a strong expert, but not strong enough to be on the wanted list. Underwater. Han Fei blew up the seaweeds that came at him with a punch, and spirit-swallowing bugs were crawling on the seaweeds and in the seawater. However, Han Fei didn't care about that at all. The fist mark pierced through the seawater and shattered all the creatures on its way. None of the spirit-swallowing bugs could land on Han Fei. Underwater. A team of 3 advanced dangling fishers saw the scene clearly. The golden fist mark pierced through the seawater and hit the ground. Boom! Han Fei punched a crab into pieces and locked the hands of one of them with his fish hook. At that moment, one of the 3 simply crushed a flash stone and fled. Where did this guy come from? That's a purple soldier crab. It's rare to see one, but you blew it up with one punch. If you have this kind of strength, don't make things difficult for us little people. The man who was caught by Han Fei was horrified. Bro, let's talk. You want my sea-swallowing seashell, don't you? I have it. I'll give it to you, as long as you don't kill me. Han Fei simply glanced at him casually. Have you ever met anyone on the wanted list? The man was briefly stunned. No. The man was lost for words. Then would we have ever met one? Even if we did, I wouldn't have a chance to stand here. Han Fei looked around. Where is this place? The man quickly said, this is the Broken Stone Valley. Han Fei took out the map and searched for a long time before he finally located the Broken Stone Valley. It was about 700 kilometers from here to the seaweed wall. From here to the sponge area, one would have to walk half an arc including the sea. It was almost 8,000 kilometers. Ignoring the man, Han Fei lifted his foot and moved dozens of meters away. When he raised his foot again, he had already disappeared into the moss-covered Broken Stone Valley. Who? It's so scary. Who is this guy? Tu Feng was an expert ranked 22nd on the wanted list. At this moment, he was crouching in a rock layer that was covered by seaweed. He wasn't here to fight at all. As far as he knew, neither Mo Qianshang nor Luo Xiaobai could deal with them. But he was so happy recently that he had looted more than 50 sea-swallowing seashells. Tu Feng said proudly, that's great. I'm waiting for the sea-swallowing seashells to be delivered to me. Is there something wrong with me for robbing a divine weapon? Who could snatch something like that just because they wanted to? If I'm alive to take it, I'll have to use it. Huh? Another sea-swallowing seashell? The third update. Asking for votes. One more update, end of this chapter. Chapter 5:16. In the eyes of the strong, the weak were usually regarded as delivery boxes, and robbing passers-by was as enjoyable as opening a package. At this moment, when Han Fei passed by Tu Feng quickly, a fish hook suddenly shot out and bound Han Fei's feet. Then, a short spear darted at him and broke the water as fast as a shooting star. Tu Feng grinned. He only needed one spear to deal with a regular advanced dangling fisher. He didn't even need to attack anymore. However, while Tu Feng was laughing, he found that Han Fei stopped too and looked at him with a faint smile. Huh? Why is he laughing? In the next second, a golden fist aura smashed onto the short spear, and the huge force sent the seemingly ferocious short spear flying. Not good. Tu Feng's first thought was that the guy was pretending to be weak, and his second thought was that the guy was from the Thousand-Star City. Either way, the guy was definitely one of the best on his level since he could resist his spear so easily. He didn't know if he was qualified to be on the wanted list, but he knew that a lot of people who weren't on the wanted list were just too low-key, not incapable of being on it. Tu Feng's first reaction was to crush the flash stone, but the moment he took it out, a fish hook suddenly appeared below his feet and hooked the flash stone away. Before Tu Feng took out a second flash stone, he saw dozens of fist auras coming at him. The fist auras were raging. Tu Feng was shocked. You're Han Fei? Tu Feng thought of someone. There were experts who were good at fists in the level 3 fishery, but Chao Tian and Chen Aochen were the best known ones. However, many people didn't know them at all, because neither of them was on the wanted list. Also, as the heavenly talents of the Thousand-Star City, nobody dared to hunt them. However, ever since Han Fei defeated a hanging fisher with his fist outside the steps into the sea, the fact that he was good at fists had been widely known in the level 3 fishery. On the wanted list, there were no more than 5 experts who were good at fists, and Han Fei ranked first. Remembering that Han Fei was capable of disguising himself, Tu Feng was dumbfounded. Brother Han, wait a moment. Tu Feng smashed the fist projections with his high-grade spirit tool. However, to his horror, each of the fist projections was extremely powerful, and he was forced to retreat several hundred meters after receiving dozens of fist projections. Bang! In the end, when a huge fist mark smashed over, Tu Feng suddenly burst out. A water-shaped blast wave burst out from the long rod in his hand. At the same time, he injected 1/3 of his spiritual qi into the long rod. Boom! Tu Feng's figure was sent flying, leaving a mark that was dozens of meters long on the ground. The seaweed and reefs along the way were all crushed. In the next second, Han Fei pressed a long knife against Tu Feng's neck. Han Fei said with a smile, I didn't know until today that the experts on the wanted list are actually quite weak. I'll give you a chance to tell me where Luo Xiaobai and the others are. Tu Feng hastily swallowed his saliva. He had suffered a heavy blow. I'm weak. How could I be weak? If I were weak, could I have blocked dozens of your punches in the blink of an eye? If I were weak, could I have blocked your punch just now? If I were weak, I would have been killed in the first round, alright? Of course, Tu Feng dared not complain at this moment. He said carefully, Brother Han, no discord, no concord. 10 sea swallowing seashells will be my apology. I can help you find Luo Xiaobai and the others. As he spoke, Tu Feng waved his hand, and 10 sea swallowing seashells floated in the water. Han Fei waved his hand too, and the 10 sea swallowing seashells were naturally collected. Without even looking at the sea swallowing seashells, Han Fei asked with a smile, Do you know where they are? Tu Feng raised his hand in embarrassment and said telepathically, I know where they fought today, but I'm not sure where they are right now. Han Fei said, Speak. Tu Feng looked at the knife in Han Fei's hand. Brother Han, can you put the knife away first? This is a complete misunderstanding. I can rob anyone, but I don't dare to rob you. Han Fei thought for a moment. Do I know you well? Don't call me Brother Han. Tell me first, and I'll consider whether or not to let you go after you're done. That is, don't lie to me. Tu Feng moved his neck back a little bit, fearing that Han Fei might cut off his head. After all, he could sense the ultra-quality spiritual weapon in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei didn't care about that. He couldn't run away anyway. How could he run when his hands were still raised? Tu Feng said, "You came at the perfect time." Earlier today, Luo Xiaobai and the others appeared in the seaweed wall less than 5,000 kilometers from here. Han Fei immediately roared, "Think about it carefully. You're ambushing passers-by here, but you know what happened 5,000 kilometers away. Do you think I'm an idiot?" Tu Feng said quickly, "That's not true. I wasn't ambushing here earlier. I was close to the seaweed wall. But you know that it's not easy for us to catch up to people on the list. You may not know it, but people are everywhere within 1,000 kilometers of the seaweed wall. I came here because there were too many people and I might be attacked. Besides." "Besides what?" Tu Feng said with a smile. Luo Xiaobai and the others were not fighting Mo Qianshang's team, but another group of people. Didn't Zhang Liang, who ranked 26th, perish? Many others were heavily wounded too. I followed them to this place. Unfortunately, I was discovered later and had to give up. Han Fei's heart was chilled. So, this Tu Feng was actually trying to take advantage of the situation. He didn't care which side won, but if the other side lost, he would simply kick them when they were down. Han Fei thought for a moment. If it were him, he probably would have made the same choice as Tu Feng. What good stuff could there be in the sea-swallowing seashells of ordinary people? How many ordinary people could give out 10 sea-swallowing seashells like Tu Feng did? However, this guy was not a good person. If Luo Xiaobai and the others were defeated, he must have been following them. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Where?" Tu Feng pointed to Han Fei's side and said, "Here. 3,000 kilometers forward, you'll reach the sponge area." Today, they fought from the sponge area to the outside and entered the seaweed wall. Han Fei subconsciously glanced at that direction, but because of his brief distraction, Tu Feng suddenly exerted strength on his feet and flew back. He was crushing a flash stone in his hand. Han Fei reacted quickly. He had no intention of letting go of Tu Feng. The man was cunning and strong. He had more than 10 sea-swallowing seashells. Han Fei's blood-drinking knife broke out of the water, and the intimidating aura of the knife left a vertical swirl in the seawater. It was too late. Tu Feng was astonished. Han Fei was simply too strong, and his reaction speed was so terrifying. He had only been hoping for a split second to crush the flash stone, but Han Fei had still managed to catch that split second. Crack! The instant the saber light burst forth, Tu Feng made a move of abandoning the rook to protect the general. A tortoise contractual spiritual beast appeared in front of him. Han Fei hadn't used the draw art yet. He had been preparing his knife for a long time. Back then, even Gong Yuehan couldn't take 3 attacks from Han Fei. Han Fei couldn't have been as strong as he was right now. With a crack, the contractual spiritual beast was cut in half by Han Fei's knife. Almost at the same time, the flash stone was crushed, and Tu Feng disappeared, leaving an arm behind. In Han Fei's perception, Tu Feng was already 8 kilometers away, rushing to the edge of the seaborne prairie at a high speed. Han Fei slightly frowned. This guy was truly smart. He knew that he was looking for someone in the inner circle, so the first thing he did after escaping was not to run in, but to run all the way out. Han Fei couldn't help but smile. "You're lucky." Han Fei wasn't sure whether Tu Feng was telling the truth or not, but it didn't matter to him. It was just the seaborne prairie. The first big treasure trove he visited after he entered the level 3 fishery was the seaborne prairie. He was very good at surviving here. Moreover, he did not think that anyone could stop him. Unless it was a squad formed by the people on the wanted list, they would not be able to stop him. Thinking about that, Han Fei swam in the direction that Tu Feng pointed at. However, Han Fei didn't know that the news of Han Fei's arrival had already spread out half an hour after Tu Feng ran away. Tu Feng knew that it was impossible for him to take revenge on Han Fei in his current state, but the grudge had been made. He covered the wound on his arm and said brutally, "I can't kill you, but there are plenty of people on the dragon boats. You can't escape even if you have wings if you stay in the seaborne prairie." While Tu Feng spread the news of Han Fei's arrival crazily, Han Fei ran into a team of 100 people. Chapter 5:17. It was certainly not a coincidence that Han Fei encountered a team of 100 people. With Han Fei's perception range, he had already known the existence of this group of people as early as 10 kilometers away. However, not only did Han Fei not avoid them, but he also directly cancelled the Thousand Faces technique and turned into his original appearance. At the same time, Han Fei summoned the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, sat on its back, and swaggered towards this group of people. For Han Fei now, no matter whether the opponent was an all-professional squad, a 10-person group, or a 100-person group, it didn't make any sense. Since he was able to resist the sword currents of the abyssal chasm and rush to Ren Tianfen's treasure place, Han Fei had already known his current strength. At this moment, Han Fei was just like the fat Han Fei when he first cultivated the indestructible body art. For this group of people, he was equivalent to a super big boss. If you want to win, sure, you have to break my defense first. Besides, Han Fei didn't think that he had cultivated for so long and made himself stronger by all kinds of deceit and deception just to pretend to be weak. As a result, there was this face-to-face confrontation. The team of 100 people seemed to have just come out of the sponge land. Some people were blown up miserably. Obviously, they had encountered a group of idol-chasing sponges. The moment they saw Han Fei, this team of 100 people immediately burst into an uproar. Han Fei? Oh my sea god, did I see it wrong? It's really Han Fei. That's a nine-tailed mantis shrimp. You can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Instead of finding Mo Qianshang and Luo Xiaobai, we met Han Fei. Did he come out of the abyssal chasm? Wow! For a moment, the crowd was in a commotion, and many people were ready to take action. Since these people dared to hunt Mo Qianshang and Luo Xiaobai, they were certainly not weak. At a glance, Han Fei saw no less than 20 peak-level dangling fishers. There seemed to be more behind them. The rest were all advanced dangling fishers. If Han Fei encountered such a team before, he would definitely run away as soon as possible. But now, unless these people were all made up of peak-level dangling fishers, Han Fei had no fear. Before those people took action, Han Fei took the lead and shouted, "Hey, have you found where Luo Xiaobai and the others went?" Everyone. Someone said, "Are you asking us?" Ha ha ha, someone laughed and said, "Han Fei, do you not understand the current situation?" Someone shouted, "Surround them. Set up the formation." These people saw that Han Fei was so fearless. Although it was obvious that he didn't care about them, they attributed this indifference to Han Fei's arrogance. Han Fei was not in a hurry. He smiled and said, "Hey. It's not too late for you to run now. After all, it's not easy for us to survive in the level 3 fishery. However, once we start fighting, don't say that I didn't give you a chance." After some people heard this, they began to speculate. No one was a fool. Was Han Fei, who was in the top 3 of the wanted list, a fool? If the other party wasn't a fool, how much confidence did he have? Facing a team of 100 people, he still dared to speak so arrogantly. A peak-level dangling fisher shouted, "Don't believe him." Later, he would attack with all his strength. A person's spiritual energy was limited. None of us here today are mediocre. Do you think we're afraid of him when there are so many of us? Someone shouted, "Han Fei must have precious treasures on him. After we kill him, we'll split it evenly." Soon, hundreds of people surrounded Han Fei. And it was the first time that Han Fei had seen so many people setting up a formation. It was a formation jointly set up by a group of spirit gatherers and manipulators. Immediately, Han Fei knew the origin of this formation. If a kind of formation could be set up by many people together, this kind of formation was usually not of a high level. Why? You can imagine that this was a team assembled at the last minute, and definitely not a formation that belonged to a large sect. Since it was not a special formation but a temporary formation, how strong could it be? In fact, before Han Fei took action, he had already thought it through. Of course, although the level of this formation was not high, it couldn't hide the fact that many people had set it up. Besides, this kind of formation was generally a kind of mature formation. Therefore, for ordinary people, its power was definitely not small. Han Fei smiled and said, "Is this to prevent me from running out with flash stones?" The several peak-level dangling fissures in the lead sneered. "Good that you know." Han Fei was not in a hurry but looked at these people with a smile. "If I really fight, I won't kill all of you. I'll keep you alive. Oh, by the way, after I go out, remember to promote me on the dragon boats. You don't have to look for it. Next time, all dragon boats, remember, all dragon boats, get ready." Ha! Someone looked at Han Fei dumbfoundedly. Was his brain clamped by a sea-swallowing seashell? You! Did he mean that he still wanted to find trouble with the dragon boats? The large formation was soon set up, spanning a kilometer. Some peak-level dangling fissures took action, and everyone attached their spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts to themselves. The armorists took the lead. Nearly 20 armorists opened their armor boxes. Even if each person only took out a sword and a knife, there were still 40 or 50 weapons. In fact, each person had more than a dozen weapons taken out of the box, and some people even took out dozens of weapons. However, in Han Fei's view, these weapons were too weak. Han Fei didn't know if Chen Aochen had told them that he had an ultra-quality spiritual weapon. He just assumed that Chen Aochen had said it. Anyway, this thing would be exposed sooner or later. If he fought against 100 people last time, it was because of the right time and place. Then this time, he had nothing but recklessness. Han Fei thought that he could make a name for himself, and he could make a name for himself that people would tremble in fear at the sound of his name. He firmly believed that as long as the hidden fissures didn't show up, no one in the level 3 fishery could shake him. Even if the hidden fissures showed up, Han Fei didn't think that Old Bai and the others would be indifferent. Han Fei didn't believe that they wouldn't pay attention to this place even though they were separated by an infinite ocean. Therefore, when the sky was full of weapons attacking from all directions, Han Fei swam out all the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. In a group battle, the lethality of the million knife art was terrifying. In particular, all of Han Fei's weapons were ultra-quality spiritual weapons. This allowed him to be in a state of invincibility with his weapons. Crack, crack, crack. The 99 blue sea wandering dragon daggers, at a terrifying speed, rotated dozens of meters around Han Fei's body. All the weapons that intended to attack him were cut off almost in an instant. Even high-quality spiritual weapons couldn't escape the fate of breaking when being strangled by multiple blue sea wandering dragon daggers. Puff. 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 For a time, all the armorists, including the peak-level dangling fissures, vomited blood. Everyone was shocked. Someone roared, "Take back your weapons, take back your weapons." At this time, Han Fei had already attached to Little Gold. With a swish, Han Fei disappeared on the spot. Someone yelled, "Everyone, use your secret arts if you have them. Armorists, use all your shields and armor." Han Fei chuckled and had already rushed into the crowd. Facing the seaweed and vines that burst out like a flood, none of them could approach him and were all shredded as soon as they appeared. When big shields blocked him from all directions, Han Fei's fist light burst out. Boom, 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 dong, dong, dong. In the blink of an eye, dozens of big shields were all sent flying back. Someone was swept by the blue sea wandering dragon daggers and was cut in half. Someone seemed to be able to turn into a plant to escape, but the plant was directly smashed into pieces by the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. With the joint attack of dozens of peak-level dangling fissures, the surging energy directly pushed the seawater into a large energy ball. However, a knife light slashed over and all the power was cut off by Han Fei. Han Fei's mocking voice sounded in everyone's head, "Is that all you've got? Those peak-level dangling fissures, what are you hiding? Do you think you can still escape? Majestic mystic spell." Han Fei's eyes suddenly turned cold, and his momentum suddenly rose to a new height. He felt that the energy in his body was exploding and going berserk. Swish! Like a phantom, Han Fei appeared in front of a peak-level soul warrior in an instant. Han Fei casually slashed, and the man had no time to fight back at all, so he could only control the hundreds of bone spurs of his contractual spiritual beast to burst out. Crack, crack, crack. When the man's bones were broken and he died, Han Fei's figure had already appeared on the other side, and none of the bone spurs that burst out could touch Han Fei. After 2 months of 10 times the gravity cultivation, Han Fei's reaction ability and speed had reached an extremely abnormal level. Boom, boom, boom. However, some people's chests and abdomens collapsed, and some people's internal organs were damaged. Huh. In the crowd, several peak-level dangling fissures seemed to have cast some kind of secret technique. In a short period of time, their strength was almost raised to the peak of the peak level. However, the golden fist light smashed through the man's chest in the next second. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers rolled into the crowd, and some people's battle suits were disintegrated and they were hacked to death. Of course, when facing the peak-level dangling fissures, Han Fei was inevitably cut many times. It was not a matter of whether he could dodge or not, but because there were so many of them that he couldn't dodge. However, those people were shocked to find that Han Fei was still wearing an ultra-quality battle suit. What the hell? The ultra-quality battle suit had amazing defensive power. If they didn't use secret techniques, they wouldn't even be able to hurt Han Fei with pure strength. A peak-level soul warrior, with a strange bow technique of 13 arrows, directly passed through the million knife art and landed on Han Fei's chest. However, he was shocked to find that Han Fei didn't even take half a step back. Han Fei even smiled at him. I can even resist the sword torrents of a peak-level dangling fissure. Do you think I'm afraid of your spiritual energy arrows? At that moment, Han Fei took out the blue sea wandering dragon bow and shot an arrow. In the blink of an eye, the arrow burst through the seawater and penetrated the battle suit on the man's body almost instantly. At the same time, the man bled from all his orifices, his soul collapsed, and he died instantly. Run away. No one knew who it was that suddenly roared out this sentence. They were really horrified. What kind of freak was this? The attack of a peak-level dangling fissure had no effect on Han Fei at all. The million knife art composed of all ultra-quality spiritual knives was almost a bug in a team battle. They couldn't fight it at all. The group of people was speechless. Damn it, I can't fight an ultra-quality spiritual weapon with a mid-quality spiritual weapon, can I? Han Fei stretched out his hand and waved, and all the blue sea wandering dragon daggers returned. However, of the 100 people just now, more than 30 had died at this moment. Of the remaining people, half were injured, and a small half were seriously injured. At this moment, these people were all fleeing. Han Fei shouted, "Remember what I said. From today on, the level 3 fishery is my home field." Chapter 5:18. When all these people ran away, Han Fei collected more than 30 sea-swallowing seashells in total and grinned for a while. It was still painful to fight, but it would be fine after the pain passed. I hope there won't be so many idiots who will challenge my bottom line in the future. With a flash between Han Fei's eyebrows, Little Black and Little White appeared, and so did the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. "Daughter, let's go. Lead the way." Somewhere inside the seagrass city wall, Zhang Xuanyu said in annoyance, "We can't go on like this. There are too many people coming. We have to find a way out. As long as we get out, with the speed of the wind god boat, we can easily get rid of them." Xia Shaochan glared at Zhang Xuanyu angrily. You shouldn't have come. Han Fei went back. Did you really come out after sending him out? Zhang Xuanyu paused. Oh. Haven't I explained it to you many times? I went back immediately after sending him out. But I really couldn't resist the sword currents. Besides, I bet that Han Fei didn't enter the first secret realm. That secret realm is too dangerous. I just lifted my feet and my whole body went limp. Xia Shaochan pouted. What secret realm? Is it so horrible? Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. If you don't believe me, I can take you there. Damn it, what's wrong with Mo Qianshang? Is half a divine weapon so important? Luo Xiaobai said gloomily, we have to find another way out. Today is the 6th time we have rushed out. We've consumed a lot of spiritual fruits and pills in the past half a month. We have to find another way. The fat on Lu Renkuang's face shook and he said, how about I try my sky swallowing technique? Let's go upstream and I'll swallow a way out. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. No, the sea grassland is weird. As long as we enter the seagrass city wall, it will be another place outside. It's not the level 3 fishery we are familiar with at all. Lu Renkuang asked, how do you know? Luo Xiaobai said, so far, no one who went out this way has returned. If we want to save Han Fei, we have to find another way out. Xia Shaochan pursed her lips. The thousand faces technique doesn't work either. Now, anyone who went out of the seaweed wall would be besieged, no matter who they were. Moreover, those who besieged us were all on the wanted list. But how do they know where we are? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Those on the wanted list are all capable. I think they have some way to directly locate us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been targeted by someone on the wanted list 6 times in a row. Zhang Xuanyu sighed. Sigh. He wondered how Han Fei was doing. At that time, why did I send those people out? We're not related to each other. Luo Xiaobai said coldly, it's necessary. This was not as simple as saving someone's life. This was a heavenly favor. Those who could enter the abyssal chasm were not simple in the first place. These people were not stupid. It was impossible for them to expose the secret that they had come out of the abyssal chasm. In that case, these people would definitely repay him in the future. Well, at least some people know how to repay a favor. Zhang Xuanyu, I don't want them to repay me. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. It's not just repayment. After all, it's thousands of lives. Besides, we have no grudge against them. Would you rather watch them starve to death? Lu Renkuang said, it's pitiful if they don't have enough to eat. I think they can die in battle or exploring secret realms. But they can't starve to death. How miserable it will be for cultivators to starve to death. Just as everyone was recovering from their injuries, the surrounding scenery suddenly changed, and all the seaweed turned into poisonous snakes. Everyone's face changed, and Zhang Xuanyu cursed, bastard, again. Can't you let us rest? Luo Xiaobai said, Lu Renkuang, guard the 4 sides with the shield. Senior Hexagon, help Lu Renkuang guard the 4 sides with the 6-gate formation. Shaochan, use the shadow kill technique. Zhang Xuanyu reported the position and cooperated with Shaochan to attack. I'll hold them off. Immediately, Xia Shaochan disappeared in place. Purple light rose to the sky, and the 6-gate formation appeared. Master Hexagon clung to Luo Xiaobai, his big eyes flashing. Zhang Xuanyu immediately said, that bastard Mo Qianshang is not here. Xia Shaochan, 800 meters in front of you on the left, there is an enemy soul warrior. Lu Renkuang, lock the bloodthirsty broadsword 600 meters behind you. The armorist is there. Luo Xiaobai's pupils turned white. As she raised her hands, the illusionary snakes swarmed in all directions. At the same time, countless branches seemed to grow out of thin air, shooting out in many directions. Boom! The shield behind Zhang Xuanyu was bombarded, and billowing spiritual energy exploded behind the shield. Within 100 meters, a knife array tens of meters high suddenly descended, enveloping all of them. Lu Renkuang said to everyone via voice transmission, "Mo Qianshang, you bastard, your knife array is bullshit. Let me show you my armor art." Zhang Xuanyu said, "Xia Shaochan, 200 meters behind you, hunters." Zhang Xuanyu said, "Xiao Bai, I'll leave Mo Qianshang to you and Lu Renkuang. I'm going to help." Tertiary body. Swish. Swish, two Zhang Zuanyas appeared, and Lu Renkuang cut a big hole in the knife array with a horizontal slash. Zhang Xuanyu seized this gap and rushed out in an instant. 3 Zhang Zuanyas, one was reporting the position, one rushed to the manipulator hiding in the distance and fighting Luo Xiaobai, and one rushed to Xia Shaochan. At this time, Xia Shaochan was fighting against 2 enemies, and the enemy spirit gatherer must be nearby. When Zhang Xuanyu arrived, Xia Shaochan had already pierced the soul warrior back and forth like a shadow. However, the soul warrior was still alive even though he had been pierced with countless holes. Because his body turned out to be made of sand. The soul warrior's combat power was obviously no match for Xia Shaochan. But he just couldn't be killed, which made Xia Shaochan very distressed. As for the hunter, he was fighting against the shadowless blade. Seeing Zhang Xuanyu coming, Xia Shaochan said, "Soul warrior, come here. I'll go kill the hunter." With that, Xia Shaochan disappeared in a flash. At the moment when Xia Shaochan disappeared, thousands of tender green vines stretched out from the void and clasped at the soul warrior. The soul warrior shouted, "Luo Xiaobai, let's see how many people you can control." Hu! The roar of the giant arowana came out, and the water suddenly smelled of blood. The enemy hunter turned into wisps of black smoke and was fleeing. Among all the people present, Xia Shaochan was the strongest in terms of lethality. Including Mo Qianshang himself, if he hadn't used a kind of shadow sword current combat skill, he would have been stabbed to death by Xia Shaochan. At this moment, Zhang Xuanyu suddenly said, "Not good, Xiao Bai, another soul warrior is coming." Lu Renkuang, 500 meters to the side, used the sky-swallowing technique. Lu Renkuang suddenly opened his mouth. At the same time, a weird super big hole appeared, and all the seaweed within a radius of 50 meters was swallowed. However, when Lu Renkuang swallowed the seaweed, the soul warrior threw out a large mass of dark green poison. Lu Renkuang shouted, "Grandpa, I can eat anything, including poison." The battle was quite fierce. At this time, Xia Shaochan seriously injured the hunter, but then she fought with another hunter. Under the majestic mystic spell, the 2 hunters could only be beaten. If it weren't for the fact that one could turn into black smoke and the other had double shadows that could exchange with each other, they would have been dead at this moment. The most miserable one was the soul warrior who had turned into sand. The sand all over his body had exploded 7 or 8 times. Luo Xiaobai controlled everyone alone. Her vines were not strong enough to bind these people, but there were many kinds of vines, including poisonous ones, paralyzing ones, whipping ones, and spirit-swallowing ones. Squeak, squeak, squeak. When a strange sound rang, Zhang Xuanyu, who was protected by Lu Renkuang, suddenly looked up. An invisible wave suddenly stopped the squeaking sound. This was Mo Qianshang's 3rd contractual spiritual beast. And Mo Qianshang was the only person known to have 3 contractual spiritual beasts in the level 3 fishery. The name of the 3rd one was unknown. But it was a kind of insect, and the sound of this insect could disturb people's minds. Once Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renkuang were affected, the whole battle situation would change. Among all the people, only Zhang Xuanyu could ignore this insect because of his extremely strong soul power. At this moment, a voice sounded. "Luo Xiaobai, give me the things and I'll leave." Lu Renkuang cursed, "Fuck off, come out and fight me one-on-one if you have the guts." "I'll kill you." Mo Qianshang sneered. "You are trapped here and there is no spirit gatherer around you. How long can you hold on with spiritual fruits?" Half a month at most. If you don't compromise, you will all die here. Outside, the vines controlled by Luo Xiaobai slowed down. Zhang Xuanyu said, Xiaobai, don't listen to him. Even if we give him the things, we can't leave. The enmity has been completely formed. This is a situation that will not end until one side dies. Don't get distracted. Seeing that it was useless to persuade Luo Xiaobai, Mo Qianshang persuaded the hexagon starfish. Senior hexagon starfish, if you remove the formation, I will give you 100 sea-swallowing seashells, which contain countless treasures. The hexagon starfish snorted. Bad guy, I don't believe you. While everyone was busy fighting, an unexpected voice rang out. Yo! You're all here. The scene is quite lively. Chapter 5:19. Zhang Xuanyu and the others all stiffened slightly. Zhang Xuanyu said angrily, Bastard, I thought you were dead in there. Lu Rinquang shouted, Woo! Han Fei, you came out by yourself. Xia Xiaochan said, Humph, get ready to admit your mistake. Within a kilometer, all the seaweeds were rioting. Because of the illusion, everyone saw that the sea snakes were shuttling and rioting. On the other side, the faces of Mo Qianshang and the others changed. Mo Qianshang shouted, Everyone, retreat. Retreat? Han Fei sneered. I'd like to see where you can retreat to. Han Fei shouted in a low voice, Hold them up. I'm coming. The soul warrior who was sucked in by Lu Rinquang felt his blood run cold in an instant. It was a tremor from the bottom of his heart. However, at this moment, endless seaweeds completely wrapped him up, and Lu Rinquang's sky-swallowing technique sucked him in, so he couldn't exert any strength at all. Among all of them, he was the most passive one. His first reaction was to run away. In his hand, a flash stone had appeared, but in the next second, he felt a pain in his hand. He looked down. Where's my hand? It's me. My entire palm disappeared as if it had been bitten off by something. But at this moment, he had no time to care about his missing hand. As soon as he looked back, he found that a huge fist mark had appeared dozens of meters away. The fist mark was dark red, exuding a monstrous murderous aura, and attacked along with the violent water current. Huh! Explode, 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 the soul warrior was horrified. Too strong, this fist mark is too strong. He knew at the first moment that he couldn't resist it. 3 high-quality spiritual weapons collided with the fist mark and then exploded. At the same time, a crab and a big cuttlefish blocked in front of him. At this moment, he was ready to sacrifice his 2 contractual spiritual beasts to save his life. Under normal circumstances, this person could definitely block Han Fei's sacrificing punch. However, Han Fei had activated the majestic mystic spell at this moment. The power of this punch had already exceeded the combat power that a dangling fisher should have. As the fist imprint descended, the self-destruction of the 3 spiritual weapons failed to block it in the slightest. The shell of the big crab at the very front was instantly crushed. As for the big cuttlefish, it was directly disintegrated by the fist force. At this moment, the battle's soul master felt despair. It was a feeling of invincibility. He regretted agreeing to Mo Qianshang's request. I can't accept this, boom. In an instant, this soul warrior was directly crushed by the fist mark. At this point, the sacrificing punch was not over yet. Like a light technique, it blasted toward the surface of the sea from the bottom up. Wherever it passed, all the seaweed was crushed into dust, and a hole was punched through the seaweed wall. And the knife array that bound Lu Rinquang and the others was crushed from head to tail. Gulp! What the hell? Lu Rinquang swallowed and his eyes almost popped out. Isn't this too fucking domineering? A soul warrior on the wanted list. That was a true prodigy. Just one punch was enough to blow him up. Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. Who the fuck can withstand this? What the hell did this bastard get in the abyssal chasm? Xia Xiaochan's eyes glowed. Wow, Awesome. At the moment when Han Fei punched, the opponent's manipulator fled first. She had no choice but to run. Who could resist this thing? Even the soul warrior couldn't withstand a single punch. She, a manipulator, dared to stay here. Was she looking for death? Immediately afterward, the opponent's spirit gatherer fled. There was no way to fight this battle. Han Fei came back and killed a person as soon as he appeared. Mo Qianshang was shocked and immediately crushed the flash stone. Their team was almost as strong as Luo Xiaobai's team of 4. This time, they called 2 foreign helpers to crazily consume the resources of Luo Xiaobai's team. But who would have expected that Han Fei would appear in this way? Didn't they say that this guy never came out after entering the abyssal chasm? After Mo Qianshang ran away, among the remaining people, only one hunter who could turn into smoke ran away. Among the remaining 2 people, the soul warrior who could turn into sand, and the hunter who could turn into 2 shadows. It was not that they didn't want to run, but that the hunter was being stared at by Xia Shaochan. Even if he took out the flash stone, he had no chance to use it. As for the soul warrior who could turn into sand, he seemed to be immortal, but he couldn't be really invincible. At this moment, Zhang Xuanyu, who had left the battle, was besieging him. At the same time, Luo Xiaobai's vines had tied him up like a dumpling. While gulping down a few mouthfuls of candle dragon blood, Han Fei rushed towards the 2 people. Seeing that Han Fei had already rushed over, Zhang Xuanyu asked, how to deal with the sand. Han Fei said with a smile, since he can turn into sand, I'll crush every grain of sand and then separate them. This time, Han Fei didn't use the sacrificing punch but the art of invincibility. The golden fist mark punched out 100 times in a row, and with the cooperation of Zhang Xuanyu, all the soul warriors were blown up. Then, Han Fei grabbed a handful of sand and crushed it crazily. The sand, which was originally golden and shiny, turned red at that moment. In the void, a voice came, don't kill me. I will take you to Mo Qianshang. Zhang Xuanyu scolded, now you know how to beg for mercy. Let me tell you, you have no chance. During this period of time, who was the most difficult to deal with? If Mo Qianshang was ranked first, this person would be ranked second. The third was the hunter who could turn into smoke. Han Fei grinned. I can find him myself. I don't need you. Within 100 minutes, this person was crushed to death. It was true that he could turn into sand, but he was not immortal. How could he not die? Then, Han Fei didn't need to attack anymore. Zhang Xuanyu and the others had been chased by Mo Qianshang's group for a long time and finally had a chance to fight back. At this moment, 4 against 1, they surrounded the hunter and beat him up. The hunter knew that he couldn't escape and begged for mercy, so he blew himself up. Lu Renkuang and the others knew that this person wanted to blow himself up. At the moment when he blew himself up, a multifaceted shield blocked it. Everyone was just shaken and didn't even have a scratch on their skin. Cool. Zhang Xuanyu shouted and gave Han Fei a bear hug. You bastard, did you go into the abyssal chasm against the sword currents? Han Fei said in surprise, huh? How did you know? Zhang Xuanyu's face was black. Of course, I know. When I went back to find you, I thought you had run into the first secret realm. I didn't dare to go in, and I couldn't block the sword currents. Han Fei patted Zhang Xuanyu on the shoulder and said, okay, fortunately, you didn't go in. I didn't dare to enter the first secret realm. Clang. Han Fei felt a tingling pain in his waist and said helplessly, Xia Shaochan, can you not stab me as soon as we meet? This is really not a good habit. Xia Xiaochan's face was black. Tell me. I was at the periphery of the steps into the sea. Why didn't you come to find me? Why did you go to the abyssal chasm? Han Fei shrugged and said, I think you should understand. I went to find Zhang Xuanyu and explore a secret realm by the way. You have to stay outside and look for Lu Renkuang and Xiaobai. We have to act separately. Xia Shaochan snorted. You didn't tell me. I heard it from others after you entered the abyssal chasm. Han Fei smiled. I'm back now, aren't I? At this moment, Lu Renkuang had already rushed over. Fei Fei. I'm suffering. Han Fei was helpless. Why are you suffering? I can see that you can eat anything with that big mouth of yours, and you're complaining about it. But your combat skills are really disgusting. Lu Renkuang said, I want to eat hot pot. My sea-swallowing seashell exploded and all the seasonings are gone. Don't you know how I survived for so long? Han Fei was stunned. Even your sea-swallowing seashell exploded? Lu Renkuang snorted. Let's go out quickly. Luo Xiaobai and Han Fei said at the same time, not yet. Luo Xiaobai smiled at Han Fei and said, welcome back. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Don't be so polite. Don't be so polite. Luo Xiaobai glanced at Xia Shaochan strangely and then looked at Han Fei. Do you want me to hug you? Han Fei was taken aback and felt that the dagger against his waist seemed to be slightly pressing, so he quickly smiled and said, just kidding, just kidding. With that said, Han Fei's face became slightly serious. There are many dragon boats outside. When I came in, the periphery of the seaweed wall was almost surrounded, and there are spies everywhere. Besides, what's going on with Mo Qianshang? Luo Xiaobai's face slightly turned cold. It's a long story. Let's get rid of them first and then go out. Chapter 520. In the seaweed city wall, the hexagon starfish lay lifelessly on a piece of seaweed. The hexagon starfish was also speechless. As soon as Han Fei came back, he regarded the space inside his door as a restaurant. At this moment, the five of them were surrounding a big pot. In the pot, there was a yellow-blooded sea cucumber and a pile of white crab meat. Lu Renkuang ate it without restraint. In the end, because the energy contained in the yellow-blooded sea cucumber was too high, after eating more than half of it, they were basically full of energy. Then they talked about their experiences. Lu Renkuang rambled, Han Fei, I'm not bragging. As soon as I was teleported in, I encountered a big whirlpool in the sea. Then, I was involved in it with my boat. Do you know what that is? A secret realm. I was directly teleported into a secret realm. Lu Renkuang rambled on for a long time, and everyone was really amazed. Speaking of which, this guy actually encountered an old turtle that had been buried at the bottom of the sea for God knows how long. When Lu Renkuang teleported to the level 3 fishery, he happened to encounter this old turtle eating. It could be imagined that a turtle could even cause a huge whirlpool on the sea surface just by swallowing tons of creatures. As a result, Lu Renkuang was almost eaten by a turtle when he entered their territory. In his words, the turtle was too big. In terms of size, it was much bigger than the rock-holding turtle. So, the turtle thought Lu Renkuang was too small and didn't want to eat him. Lu Renkuang said eloquently, I was diligent and capable. I helped it brush its teeth, cleaned its shell, and in the end, the big turtle was deeply moved. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Speak human language. Don't just brag. Lu Renkuang chuckled. So, I made hot pot for it to eat. You don't know, when the big turtle saw hot pot, it was completely dumbfounded. Xia Shaochan curiously said, that's not what you said last time. Lu Renkuang grinned. Don't interrupt. Later, I made hot pot for the big turtle for 2 whole months. As the saying goes, sincerity can break open metal and stone. Han Fei continued, so, you tricked them with delicious food and got the sky-swallowing technique? Lu Renkuang was immediately unhappy. Why did I lie to you? I was touched by it. Moreover, this requirement is very strict. First of all, one had to be able to eat in order to understand the profound mysteries of this technique. Secondly, to practice this technique, one had to learn the mystic tortoise secret technique, which could digest food quickly and hide it in the spirit sea. Do you know where the deity sea is? I haven't figured it out yet. Han Fei immediately interrupted, wait, you said that the things you eat are not directly transformed into energy or spiritual energy but are hidden? Lu Renquang said stupidly, yes. Can you transform the energy and spiritual energy for your own use? Lu Renquang scratched his head. I don't think so. I have to find the divine sea first. Han Fei's face was dark. He really wanted to kick this fatty to death. Divine sea. The divine sea is full of spiritual beasts. The food you swallowed would have been eaten up by the original spiritual beasts in the divine sea. Han Fei was speechless. He was almost fooled by Lu Renquang. If he hadn't been to the divine sea, he would have been fooled by this fatty. Han Fei asked, then how do you find the divine sea? Lu Renquang scratched his head. I don't know. The big turtle said it was very simple. As long as I closed my eyes and fell asleep, I could go there. I don't know how many times I slept there, but I never went there. However, Lu Renquang didn't care about this and continued to brag. Later, the big turtle was moved by me and gave me an egg. It took me a full 3 months to hatch this little turtle. Han Fei was speechless and interrupted, you hatched it? Lu Renquang nodded. I waited for 3 months and it automatically floated up, and then it signed an equality contract with me. Do you know that this big turtle is actually called Deep Blue Roar? It's born with the sea swallowing secret technique, which is almost impossible to appear in the level 3 fishery. It's a legend. Han Fei sneered. Okay, stop bragging. It's none of our business that it's a legend. Who knows if you changed the name of the sky swallowing technique yourself? Lu Renquang blushed. I didn't change it. Xia Shaochan asked, what was it called before? Lu Renquang shivered and said, it was called the sky swallowing technique. The deep blue roar in your mouth can only swallow food. I don't know whether it has seen the sky or not. Keep bragging. Lu Renquang choked. Seeing that everyone didn't believe him, he suddenly deflated like a balloon. Okay. I admit that I changed the name a little bit. However, the name, turtle swallowing technique, is too ugly, isn't it? It's so powerful. It should be called, sky swallowing technique. That's more domineering. Humph. Everyone snorted. Even the quiet Luo Xiaobai rolled her eyes. It turned out that she had been fooled by this guy before. Zhang Xuanyu also smiled and said, you're just lucky. Why are you complaining? Aren't you better than me? As soon as I was sent here, I was caught and sent to a den of thieves. You almost didn't see me anymore. Han Fei was quite interested in Zhang Xuanyu's Trinity body and couldn't help asking, I wanted to ask you last time, what's going on with your Trinity body? Zhang Xuanyu said, they all know about this. In fact, the flowstone pit is also dangerous. There was an old monster living in the flowstone pit, occupying an abandoned tunnel. Generally, no one dared to enter this tunnel. It's said that they were killed as soon as they entered. How weak was I at that time? I was only a junior dangling fisher and was almost tortured to death by those guys who occupied the flowstone pit. Once, I wanted to escape, so I hid near the entrance of the tunnel. Later, as you know, I was captured by that old monster. You could say that I became his disciple. He was the one who taught me the 3-yuan body. Zhang Xuanyu obviously didn't want to tell too many details when he was talking. This was his chance and it might involve some secrets, so Han Fei didn't ask more. However, Han Fei guessed that the Trinity body was too strong. 3 identical Zhang Xuanyu, and even their strength was equal, which was definitely not comparable to ordinary combat skills. Even a heaven-level divine quality combat skill might not be able to achieve this effect. Zhang Xuanyu looked at Luo Xiaobai and said, we are actually fine. Xiaobai, this is amazing. It's like a mystery. Han Fei asked curiously, by the way, why did you fight with Mo Qianshang? And, Xiaobai, what did you find? It actually attracted several dragon boats to come in person. The outside is already surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water can trickle through. Luo Xiaobai said lightly, actually, when you were in the sea-born grassland, I was there too. Ah! Han Fei was stunned. You were there too. Where were you? Did you go to the central area? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. I didn't go to the central area. I was in the worm-fish abyss. Puff. Han Fei asked incredulously, you were in the worm-fish abyss? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes. I've missed out on you. The most suitable place for me in the level 3 fishery is actually the sea-born grassland. So, my first target is here. Because I can perceive spiritual plants, I've been exploring secret realms. Most of the secret realms outside the Seaweed City wall have been explored, so I've been inside the Seaweed City wall. Han Fei suddenly asked, did you encounter a big octopus? Luo Xiaobai nodded. As for the divine seaweed octopus you mentioned, I caught one as a contractual spiritual beast and killed a couple of them. Han Fei was speechless. Luo Xiaobai killed 7 or 8 divine seaweed octopuses that frightened other people. And she even subdued one. Luo Xiaobai explained, because I can merge with spiritual plants, the divine seaweed octopus can't kill me at all. The Seaweed City wall is its domain, and mine too. Han Fei nodded. Then what? Why did you go to the worm-fish abyss again? Luo Xiaobai glanced at Han Fei. There are more than 30 secret realms under the Seaweed City wall. You don't know that, do you? I thought the central area was too dangerous and I was weak, so I should go there later. Unfortunately, for some reason, the central area was in chaos. Because of the chaos in the central area, the secret realm I was in at that time directly collapsed. The secret realm was pulled to the central area by an unknown force. Because of this, I inexplicably left the Seaweed City wall. However, when I passed the worm-fish abyss, the lotus fish was shocked to death by a strange energy. So, I fell into the worm-fish abyss. Wow! Han Fei asked in astonishment, when you went to the central area, did an insect tide break out? Luo Xiaobai took a deep look at Han Fei. Thanks to you, the insect tide you caused. Han Fei was embarrassed and immediately asked, then what happened? How did you survive in the worm-fish abyss? Luo Xiaobai smiled. Have you forgotten that I can merge with plants? Han Fei frowned, wondering how there could be plants in the worm-fish abyss. Suddenly, Han Fei took a breath and asked, did you merge with the lotus throne of the lotus fish? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes. In fact, the horror of the worm-fish abyss is just a disguise. In the deepest part of the worm-fish abyss, there is an ancient garden full of various spiritual plants and spiritual fruits. So, I took advantage of the opportunity to cultivate in it. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Is there a garden down there? Luo Xiaobai said, there is a seal down there, and some creatures inside are relatively special, with extremely strong territorial awareness and combat power. I also cultivated until a few months ago, when I met Mo Qianshang. Chapter 521. According to Luo Xiaobai, at the bottom of the worm-fish abyss, there were not only many rare spiritual plants and spiritual fruits, but also a strange seed in a weird box. The reason why Luo Xiaobai couldn't get it was that she had been fighting for control with a guardian spiritual plant. Just when Luo Xiaobai spent a lot of time and effort to win the guardian spiritual plant, Mo Qianshang appeared. Fortunately, Luo Xiaobai controlled the guardian spiritual plant and grabbed the seed. However, the seed was taken away by Mo Qianshang. Mo Qianshang was no match for the guardian spiritual plant, so he escaped from the insect fish abyss with the box. Luo Xiaobai, on the other hand, found that the box seemed to have a special connection with the seed, so she finally gave up the advantage of guarding the spiritual plant and walked out of the worm-fish abyss. At this point, the battle between the two began. In a place like the Seaweed City wall, even if Mo Qianshang was much stronger than Luo Xiaobai, he still couldn't catch her. And Luo Xiaobai was not strong enough to kill Mo Qianshang, so the two fought almost every day until Zhang Xuanyu and the others arrived. Mo Qianshang couldn't do anything to Luo Xiaobai, nor could he watch her run away, so he announced that Luo Xiaobai had obtained a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. When the term sea-quelling bizarre treasure first spread, no one knew what it meant. In the level 3 fishery, those people had never even seen an ultra-quality spiritual weapon. You're talking to them about a divine weapon? Perhaps he would yearn for it. If you told him about the sea-quelling bizarre treasure, he would only be dumbfounded. But when the words, sea-quelling bizarre treasure, came out, many people on the wanted list were shocked. Many people from the Thousand-Star City also came to the Seaborn Prairie. It was just that Han Fei didn't meet them in the direction he came in. After hearing this story, Han Fei couldn't help but wonder what they would do if they knew that the embroidery needle in my hand was a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Han Fei said, "But is your seed a sea-quelling bizarre treasure?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "Definitely not, but definitely not worse than the sea-quelling bizarre treasures. I don't know what it is exactly. We might need to find the box first." Han Fei immediately said, "Get out of here. Mo Qianshang, right? He's been an eyesore to me for a long time. This time, I'll deal with him." Xia Shaochan was confused. "You've never seen him before. Why do you dislike him?" Han Fei snorted. "He ranks first, and I rank third. Of course I don't like him." Everyone staggered. "Do you still think the wanted list is your honor?" People were all thinking about how to get off the wanted list. "You, on the other hand, want to be number one?" Luo Xiaobai frowned and said, "Now that you're back, Mo Qianshang will definitely not come again." Han Fei said, "Then take the initiative to find them." Zhang Xuanyu scolded, "That's not the problem. That guy seems to be able to catch up with us no matter what, including Senior Hexagon Starfish. Otherwise, with the few of us working together, do you think we wouldn't be able to break out?" Luo Xiaobai said, "It may have something to do with the box. There seemed to be a connection between the box and the seed. That's why he can always find us." Lu Rinquang spat a mouthful of bubbles and said, "No wonder. I was wondering why we couldn't get out of Senior Hexagon's door. It turns out that they used this method to find us." Han Fei frowned slightly. "So, if we go to find him, he will know in advance?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "I think so." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Then what do we do? How can we get back the box?" Han Fei suddenly smiled and said, "Since he can only sense the seed, let Xiaobai stay here. Let's kill him first and snatch the box back. Isn't that enough?" Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. "Yes, let's do that." Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Rinquang looked at each other. "That makes sense. We didn't take the initiative to find him before because we couldn't find him, and because Mo Qianshang had an ally. Even if we could find him, we couldn't do anything because we couldn't kill him. But now the situation was different. Han Fei had already found him, so they didn't need to save him at all." They heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Besides, Han Fei had little white with him. Wasn't it easy to find someone? Most importantly, Han Fei was very strong. Judging from the punch just now, his combat power was off the charts. Immediately, Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Okay." Zhang Xuanyu clenched his fists. "Hey! I like it. That damn bastard came to kill us again and again. Does he really think we are weak shrimps that he can pinch at will?" They were not worried that Luo Xiaobai would have an accident. In this seaweed city wall, not to mention Mo Qianshang, even a hanging fisher might not be able to catch Luo Xiaobai. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Han Fei picked up the hexagon starfish clinging to Lu Rinquang and put it on his shoulder. "Master Hexagon, I'll count on you later." The hexagon starfish's big eyes kept rolling. When he was with Lu Rinquang and the others, he felt really comfortable and at ease. He especially liked Lu Rinquang and always called him senior. Besides, every time he ate something, he would give it the first thing to eat. Now, as soon as Han Fei came back, he caught it like catching a small fish. The hexagon starfish exclaimed, "That person is very fierce." Han Fei said with a grim face, "I'm even fiercer now." With a flash between Han Fei's eyebrows, Little Black and Little White appeared. However, when he saw these two little things, he found that they had directly leveled up and now became level 31. Han Fei sighed. Leveling up is really slow. I don't know when I can go to the Soul Sea again. If these two little things were still level 31 when I became a hanging fisher, there would be a gap of a whole realm. Let's go. At this time, inside the Seaweed City wall, about 600 kilometers away from Han Fei and the others, a group of people were gathered here, all with solemn expressions. A female manipulator said, "Lu Hong and Wu Qian shouldn't be able to come back." Then why did Han Fei suddenly appear? The male spirit gatherer was still holding a bow in his hand. "Anyway, I quit this hunt. I'm not surprised that Han Fei can come back. Don't forget, Zhang Xuanyu came back from the abyssal chasm. Why can't Han Fei come back? As for why Han Fei can come here quietly, he can disguise himself. Isn't it simple?" At this moment, the hunter, who was sitting cross-legged to recover, suddenly opened his eyes. "I quit too. You've also felt Han Fei's punch just now. You can't match it at all. Mo Qianshang, don't tell me you can block it. Your knife array can't even block the remaining power of that punch. How can we continue this business?" Mo Qianshang looked cold. "Don't forget, not only us, but the two teams outside also want a share of the loot. Since they want benefits, they have to take action. Let's try again. No matter how strong Han Fei is, I don't believe he can make that kind of attack many times. At most, a dozen of us will work together and form a team to deal with Han Fei." The hunter sneered. "Can you afford the price? They are not fools. The reason why they temporarily cooperate with you is nothing more than the benefits you promised them. Now Han Fei is back. I used to think he was not as good as you. But now it seems that you are no match for him at all. If they find Han Fei, many of them will die. Who can afford this price?" Mo Qianshang looked fierce. "Each of you will get an ultra-quality spiritual weapon. As long as you can take down Luo Xiaobai. No, as long as you can take down any one of them, I will give you all my money and treasures." Everyone was taken aback. The manipulator said, 3 ultra-quality spiritual weapons. The hunter was silent for a while. "I'll take your Shadow Sword Torrent. Give me an ultra-quality spiritual weapon." The spirit gatherer frowned. "I want your knife array, plus an ultra-quality spiritual weapon." Mo Qianshang narrowed his eyes. "Okay." With that, Mo Qianshang directly threw out 3 ultra-quality spiritual weapons. He knew that the seed had a great opportunity, which was not comparable to an ultra-quality spiritual weapon at all. As long as he got the seed, he could pay any price. The hunter said, "Let's not delay. Han Fei is back. They will definitely break out of the encirclement as soon as possible. We only have this chance. Now, we have to contact the others quickly." Mo Qianshang suddenly wondered, They don't seem to be moving. Not moving. Maybe they are recovering. After all, everyone has consumed a lot of energy just now. When Mo Qianshang and the others were about to unite with the others, Han Fei stuffed the hexagon starfish into Little Black's mouth. The hexagon starfish cried, "I want to come out. Your spiritual beast is grinding me with its teeth." Han Fei said, "Little Black, you can't eat this. It's our spiritual beast." Little Black rubbed against Han Fei's body. Han Fei said to the hexagon starfish, "Don't yell. If you expose Little Black, I will slap you to death now." Behind him, Zhang Xuanyu asked in surprise, "Where is Senior Hexagon Starfish? Why is he gone?" Lu Rinquang also suddenly realized that the hexagon starfish was gone and couldn't help looking at Han Fei. "Not good, Senior Starfish ran away. Only Xia Shaochan looked strange, but she didn't speak. Han Fei said, "Don't shout. Those guys are just 10 kilometers away. They have manipulators. If we are too close, we will be easily exposed. So I asked Master Hexagon Starfish to go over and set up a 6-gate array." Han Fei grinned. Now, the hunt begins. Chapter 522. The manipulator next to Mo Qianshang said, "I don't know why, but I always have a bad feeling. Did you notice anything amiss?" Everyone shook their heads. The manipulator suddenly threw the ultra-quality spiritual weapon she had just gotten to Mo Qianshang. "I feel uneasy. I feel something is wrong. I won't participate in this hunt." Mo Qianshang shouted in a low voice, "Yang Ning, do you want to leave now?" The manipulator called Yang Ning, sneered. "Why? Do you want to keep me? Although I'm not as weird as Luo Xiaobai, I'm not someone you can keep." With that, Yang Ninger crushed a flash stone and disappeared on the spot. It wasn't until she appeared dozens of kilometers away that the feeling of uneasiness disappeared. Mo Qianshang and the others were ambushed. This was the first thought that came to Yang Ning's mind after she left. She had been feeling that something was wrong just now, but she didn't notice it. At this moment, when she was in another safe environment, she suddenly noticed something. "Just now, in my perception, there seems to be abnormal fluctuations in the seaweed." Just after Yang Ning left, the hunters and spirit gatherers around Mo Qianshang changed their expressions slightly. They didn't know why Yang Ning went back on her words the next second. At the same time, they also had a bad premonition. Seeing the purple light suddenly rise, the three of them suddenly changed their faces. The hunter's reaction was the fastest. Instead of crushing the flash stone, he turned into a wisp of smoke. However, no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the speed of light? The moment the purple light rose, the three of them were enveloped. "Damn it, Mo Qianshang, you bastard, didn't you say they didn't move?" The spirit gatherer was horrified. At this moment, he was trembling. Because he knew that if Luo Xiaobai and the others had already come, they couldn't resist them at all with their current strength. Mo Qianshang was the strongest, and Zuan, the hunter, had the weirdest footwork. Although he was still a soul warrior, he was no match for Mo Qianshang in terms of combat power and Zuan in terms of footwork. Therefore, the first one to die must be him. Mo Qianshang shouted, "Use a secret method. We can't be trapped here." As he spoke, a bone knife appeared outside Mo Qianshang's body. The moment the saber appeared, all the seaweed in the formation was reduced to dust. When Mo Qianshang held the bone knife with one hand, his eyes turned red. A terrifying killing intent erupted from his body. God-shattering slash. The seawater was twisting, and hundreds of black balls appeared in the 6-gate formation. Bone blades surged out from the black sphere and stabbed into the purple light. Boom boom boom, the bone knife exploded, and in just 3 breaths of time, the 6-gate formation had dimmed by half. The hexagon starfish immediately shouted, hurry up, this human is too strong. I can't resist him anymore." Zuan, the hunter, directly stuffed a spiritual fruit into his mouth. Then, he gathered all the spiritual chi in his body on the dagger and stabbed at a point on the 6-gate array crazily. The spirit gatherer was crazily sending spiritual energy into their bodies. He knew that it was impossible for him to shake the 6-gate formation. Therefore, he put all his hopes on Mo Qianshang and Zuan. Han Fei's speed was extremely fast. He never expected that these people would be so strong. When Wang Zitian used his strongest sword move, it took him 3 strikes to split the 6-gate formation. But Mo Qianshang and the other 2 almost shattered the 6-gate formation after just 1 attack. At this moment, Han Fei activated the majestic mystic spell and little gold, and his speed had reached the extreme. Han Fei said to the others, "I'll go first. You guys hurry up. With Han Fei's speed of nearly 2,000 meters per second, it only took him 5 seconds to cover 10,000 meters. But sometimes, it was just a few seconds that could determine the outcome of a battle. The six-gate formation was getting dimmer and dimmer. The bone spurs were too strong. It should be Mo Qianshang's strongest secret method. Seeing that the six-gate formation was about to disappear, the hexagon starfish was still urging him. Han Fei really regretted not studying the speed formation. Otherwise, his speed would have increased by another level. Bam! When Mo Qianshang vomited 8 mouthfuls of blood in a row, the six-gate formation was broken. Mo Qianshang's face was pale. At this moment, Han Fei was already 100 meters away, and Mo Qianshang had already grabbed a flash stone. Just at the moment when Mo Qianshang squeezed the flash stone, he suddenly felt a pain in his hand. The flash stone was snatched away. Damn it! Thousand Bone Knife Prison. After the flash stone was snatched away, Mo Qianshang knew that he had no chance to take out another flash stone. At that moment, on both sides of him, 2 rows of white bone knives tens of meters high were erected, forming a road made of white bones. Zuan, the hunter, and Wu Yong, the spirit gatherer, flashed away immediately. Han Fei's target was not them at all. This made them feel very lucky. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to withstand Han Fei's fists at all. At this moment, Han Fei had already launched the sacrificing punch, and the dark red fist mark with a murderous aura blasted towards the so-called knife prison. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei rushed into the knife prison. The huge bone knives on both sides were like 2 rows of guillotines. When Han Fei came in, they chopped down one after another. Each blow probably had the power of a peak-level dangling fisher. Bam, 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 like a meteorite falling from the sky, wherever the fist mark passed, the bone knives were all shattered. In the blink of an eye, the 100-meter-long knife prison had been mostly broken by Han Fei. Mo Qianshang's 7 apertures were bleeding and he grinned hideously. Han Fei, you can't kill me. As he spoke, Mo Qianshang's second flash stone was already in his hand. This time, he directly covered his body with a spiritual energy protective cover to prevent being sneak attacked by the thing in the dark. Little Black, grab his sea-swallowing seashell. Mo Qianshang's reaction was very fast. No matter how strong Han Fei was, it would take time to break this knife prison. And this time was enough for him to escape. However, at the moment he disappeared, his spiritual energy protective cover was broken, his chest seemed to be torn apart, and a large piece of flesh was torn off by something. The long road that was hundreds of meters long and covered with as many as 1,000 bone knives was blown away by Han Fei. After Han Fei stopped, he quickly swallowed a few mouthfuls of candle dragon blood. When the violent energy raged in his body, he continued to chase. Han Fei glanced at the sea-swallowing seashell that Little Black snatched and found that there was no so-called box. Han Fei looked at Xia Shaochan who had already caught up. I know where he is. I'll go after him. With a flash between his eyebrows, Little Black and Little White were put away by Han Fei. In Han Fei's perception, he had already found Mo Qianshang. 3,000 meters away. Okay. Without saying a word, Xia Shaochan grabbed the hexagon starfish and chased after Han Fei. Xia Shaochan's speed was only a little slower than Han Fei's. After all, her roaming technique was much more advanced than Han Fei's shadow swimming technique. Besides, the speed of a hunter was very fast, and with the help of the majestic mystic spell. The only thing that Xia Shaochan was a little slower was that she didn't have a speed-type contractual spiritual beast. Otherwise, she should have been much faster than Han Fei at this moment. Behind. Lu Rinquang shouted, wait, aren't they too fast? Zhang Xuanyu glanced at Lu Rinquang and said, go back to find Little White. You're too slow. I'll go first. The golden water silkworm, a contractual spiritual beast, had no combat power at all, but its only advantage was its speed. It seemed that all of its peak skills were reflected in its speed. So, Soon, Zhang Xuanyu also disappeared from Lu Renkuang's sight. Lu Renkuang looked at the seaweed around blankly. This is too fucking much. You're bullying me because I'm slow, aren't you? At this moment, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan had already left his range of perception. Lu Renkuang just paused for a moment, and Zhang Xuanyu was also out of his range of perception. Lu Renkuang was stunned and didn't know how to chase them. So, he could only go back to find Luo Xiaobai. He had no choice. Now he couldn't even find the way. After Mo Qianshang crushed the flash stone, he knew something was wrong. He quickly touched his chest, which was badly mutilated and had a big hole in his clothes. And his sea-swallowing seashell disappeared. At that time, Mo Qianshang was stunned. Just now, he didn't prepare to fight Han Fei head-on, so there was no need to wear a battle suit. But who the fuck would have thought that Han Fei had a contractual spiritual beast that could be invisible? Mo Qianshang felt very distressed. There were many treasures in his sea-swallowing seashell. But he was tricked by a contractual spiritual beast. Without his sea-swallowing seashell, there were no flash stones, spiritual fruits, and pills. At this moment, Mo Qianshang's face changed drastically. Although this place was only 100 kilometers away from the periphery of the Seaweed City wall, who knew if Han Fei would catch up with him? After all, he didn't know how Han Fei found them just now. Mo Qianshang swam out quickly with a gloomy face, thinking that Han Fei's strength was too strong for him to resist. He had to change his way of thinking and try to get that seed again. However, Mo Qianshang only swam for less than half an hour and found that Han Fei appeared in his perception. Mo Qianshang's face changed drastically. How is this possible? Chapter 523. In Mo Qianshang's view, this was very unreasonable. He could find Luo Xiaobai and the others at any time because the box could sense the seed. But how could Han Fei find him? Could it be that the seed could also sense the box? But even if Luo Xiaobai gave the seed to Han Fei just now, how could the connection between the seed and the box be so fast? Mo Qianshang had a bad feeling. Han Fei's speed was extremely fast, and the distance between them was gradually shortened. Without the resources in the sea-swallowing seashell, Mo Qianshang's only way was to lead Han Fei to those on the wanted list. In fact, Mo Qianshang didn't know that Han Fei's pursuit speed was not fast. It seemed that the distance between him and Mo Qianshang was only 2,000 meters. In fact, he was chasing Mo Qianshang. Otherwise, he would have caught up with him. When he entered 2,000 meters, Han Fei found that Mo Qianshang's whole body was surging with spiritual energy. It seemed that not only spiritual energy, but also blood energy was burning. Oh, so your perception range is only 2,000 meters. You want to be at the top of the wanted list? I'm afraid no one will come looking for trouble, right? Han Fei was not in a hurry. When Mo Qianshang was burning his blood qi, he slowed down a little and pulled the distance between them to a place where Mo Qianshang couldn't perceive. Xia Shaochan had already caught up and appeared next to him. Why did you slow down? Han Fei said with a smile, wait a minute. Don't people block you every time you rush out? Since that's the case, let's kill those people as well. Xia Shaochan asked in surprise, did you sense Mo Qianshang? Han Fei nodded. About 2,300 meters. Xia Shaochan was annoyed. Her perception range was far less than Han Fei's. Xia Shaochan muttered, I'm going to grab soul crystals after I get out. Han Fei chuckled. No problem. However, I feel that snatching the soul crystals is just a bonus. When I get out, I'm going to rob a dragon boat. Pfft, Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. Rob a dragon boat? A sneer appeared on Han Fei's lips. Vengeance is a must. If the hidden fishers don't show up, we can rob them. Xia Shaochan was slightly excited. Okay. A hanging fisher must have a lot of good stuff. The hanging fishers on the dragon boat probably didn't know it yet. For the first time, someone in the level 3 fishery intended to rob them. Moreover, he said it in such a serious manner. Very soon, Mo Qianshang's speed nearly doubled when he was burning his qi and blood. He thought he had left Han Fei behind. Pop! Mo Qianshang rushed out of the seaweed city wall. At the moment when Mo Qianshang rushed out, 5 people had already come out from various corners. A man with dozens of scars on his face sneered. Mo Qianshang, why did you come out alone? Where are Lu Hong and Zuan? Mo Qianshang didn't intend to tell them what had happened. He just said, we won. Xia Shaochan and Zhang Xuanyu escaped. They're after us. I need your help. Mo Qianshang wore a battle suit and pretended to be cold. However, he waited. The 5 people surrounded him. You won. So you've got what you wanted, haven't you? Then you should give us what you promised us, right? The corners of Mo Qianshang's mouth curled up slightly. Of course, I always keep my word. Just as Mo Qianshang's voice fell, within a radius of 100 meters, a huge knife array rose from the ground. At the moment when the knife array rose, Mo Qianshang's figure flashed and he had already withdrawn from the array. Mo Qianshang, what do you mean? You bastard, Mo Qianshang, you shameless bastard. Mo Qianshang, what are you doing? Don't tell me you think you can kill all 5 of us by yourself. Mo Qianshang said lightly, guys, don't blame me. Just as Mo Qianshang's voice fell, his face suddenly changed and his face seemed to be full of astonishment. Did Han Fei arrive so soon? The 5 people trapped in the knife array were attacking frantically, but Mo Qianshang had already turned around and fled at full speed. Mo Qianshang was betting that the knife array couldn't trap the 5 strong people on the wanted list, and Han Fei would probably be blocked by them. In this way, he could buy some time for himself. Anyway, for Mo Qianshang, if Han Fei could really sense him with the seed, he would have to throw away the box. That was something he would only do if he was left with no other choice. After all, no matter how good the opportunity was, it was not as important as his life. The reason why he trapped these people was that he just wanted to buy some time for himself. However, he didn't expect that Han Fei would arrive so soon, at least 10 minutes faster than he expected. As soon as Mo Qianshang ran out, the faces of the people trapped in the knife array suddenly changed drastically. The scar-faced man shouted, "Not good, attack with all your strength. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan are coming." At this moment, Han Fei's face was full of a bright smile. To be honest, just now he was going to use the same trick again and let Little Black hold the hexagon starfish in its mouth to set up another 6-gate array. Otherwise, if he rushed up so recklessly, it would be a miracle if he could kill 1 or 2 of them. As a result, Mo Qianshang's action directly shocked him. He actually took the initiative to trap the 5 strong people on the wanted list. This was a godlike operation. Mo Qianshang took advantage of others' trust in him to trap these 5 strong people just to buy some time for himself. At that moment, Han Fei showed up without hesitation. A dart shot out like a bolt of lightning. "Master Hexagon, let's go." Without looking at those people again, Han Fei threw the spirit forbidden net to Xia Shaochan and said, "I'm going after Mo Qianshang." The 5 people were also stunned. In the blink of an eye, in addition to the knife array, there was also a 6-gate array surrounding them. Having been in a stalemate with Luo Xiaobai and the others for so long, they certainly knew the hexagon starfish and how terrifying the 6-gate array was. This thing was not something that could be broken with just 1 or 2 slashes. Where did Han Fei get the spirit forbidden net? At that moment, those people broke out like crazy. They used all kinds of secret methods. It only took them 2 minutes to break the knife array. Then, when they bombarded the 6-gate array, they were in despair. Above their heads, the spirit forbidden net had been covered by Xia Shaochan. Dozens of kilometers away, Han Fei stood in front of Mo Qianshang, smiled, and said, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised? How can you be so fast?" In an instant, Mo Qianshang understood. His eyes were fierce. Your perception range exceeds 2,300 meters. Yes, when Mo Qianshang found that he couldn't get rid of Han Fei even if he burned his blood and qi. And when he was easily caught up by Han Fei, he knew he had been fooled. To think that he had tricked those 5 people outside in order to buy himself some time. Now it seemed that it was ridiculous. From the very beginning, he had probably planned to follow him and kill a few more people along the way. Han Fei smiled and said, if you had put the box in your sea-swallowing seashell, maybe I would have stopped chasing you. But you took it with you. If you don't have a diamond, don't do it. Now, you've finally killed yourself. Mo Qianshang's eyes were awe-inspiring. Han Fei, do you really think you are invincible? Do you really think it's so easy to kill me? Han Fei shrugged. What else can I do? I want to have a try. As he spoke, Mo Qianshang activated the secret method again, and the bone knife appeared again. However, Han Fei smiled and said, do you know why I chased you for so long? Mo Qianshang didn't answer at all, but held the bone knife with one hand and looked at Han Fei coldly. Han Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. You consume so much spiritual energy, but you can still use a secret method of this level? Are you risking your life? At this moment, Han Fei didn't intend to explain to Mo Qianshang. Because he saw Mo Qianshang's flesh and blood swell, and there seemed to be a terrifying power bursting out of his body. Why do you think I can reach the top of the catch list? Mo Qianshang was bleeding all over, but he laughed with a ferocious look on his face. At that moment, Mo Qianshang's aura had broken through to the realm of a hanging fissure. And at the moment when Mo Qianshang used the secret method, in Han Fei's eyes, a red light suddenly flashed. In his vision, the person in front of him was not a human at all, but a man-fish in human skin. This man-fish was different from the normal man-fish that Han Fei had seen. He was more like a human. Han Fei once thought that mermaids were only female. But he never expected that there was another kind of creature in this world. Mermaids. The data in his eyes showed. Name Mo Qianshang, half-mermaid. Introduction: a half-mermaid born from a human and a sea demon, with dual bloodlines of human and sea demons. When choosing the direction of evolution, it chose to be a human. It has dual talents of a sea demon and a human. Level 42 Spiritual Energy at 5102-5102 Demon Heritage Level 6 Low Quality Realm Demonization Companion Spirit Blood Bone Demon Fish Spiritual Beast Silver Scaled Fish Unabsorbable. Chapter 524. To Han Fei's shock, there were 2 things. First, at this moment, Mo Qianshang was actually still in human form. And Han Fei didn't know why he saw Mo Qianshang under the human form. In his eyes, he could clearly see that his face was different from that of a normal person. His eyes were completely white. In the middle of the white of his eyes, there were 2 bean-like black eyeballs. On both sides of his cheeks, extending to his neck, there was a layer of skin that seemed to be transformed from gills. Besides, his teeth had become extremely sharp, and the bones at the tip of his nose had also become taller. What Han Fei really didn't want to admit was that this guy was actually quite handsome. The second thing was that he was a half-mermaid. A human was a human, and a fish was a fish. Even if a human could become a fish, and a fish could become a human, it was still an essential change, right? In the end, he had become a product in the middle. This person could have both a human spiritual beast and a sea demon's companion spirit. Han Fei was speechless. Is there such a benefit for a half-demon? If it's so good, there must be a lot of half-demons in this world. After all, this benefit was too fucking obvious. This was equivalent to having 2 spiritual beasts since they were born. When he thought of 2 spiritual beasts, Han Fei was suddenly stunned. Xia Shaochan also had 2 spiritual beasts. Shadow Shrimp and Giant Arowana were both rare spiritual beasts. Thinking of Xia Shaochan's inexplicable attacks, Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. Please don't be like what I think. Otherwise, I'll be doomed. If a sea demon turned into a human and appeared in human society, if it was discovered, the result would definitely not be good. This was a fucking taboo. In an instant, a myriad of thoughts flashed through Han Fei's mind. Now, what he had to do was to kill this half-human, half-fish guy. Xia Shaochan had shown him the giant arowana. If his guess was right and this guy discovered Xia Shaochan's secret, that would be a big deal. Mo Qianshang's power was still rising, but Han Fei couldn't wait any longer. 99 blue sea wandering dragon daggers flew out, forming a stream of swords. They were so fast that they turned into knife lights, rolling up crazily. Fuse. Mo Qianshang bared his teeth, his face fierce, and silver scales appeared on his body. Ding ding ding, the million knife flow swept across like a long dragon passing through, and silver scales were constantly sent flying. After a round of knives, Mo Qianshang's body was already dripping with blood. However, to Han Fei's surprise, this guy actually resisted it with his body. Fuck your mother, Han Fei didn't know what to say. This guy's spiritual beast didn't seem to be weak. When he had withstood those sword currents in the abyssal chasm, he was well aware of their power. Even the sword torrents of a peak-level dangling fisher were a little too much for him. The power of a supreme-grade spiritual weapon was not inferior to that sword current, but he had actually withstood it. Again, fuse. Mo Qianshang roared again, and just outside the silver scales, his whole body surged again. Bones burst out of his flesh and blood, wrapping around him in the blink of an eye. Holy shit, Han Fei was speechless. This is too fucking outrageous. A layer of scales was already strong enough, and now there was a layer of bones. Mo Qianshang sneered. Han Fei, let me see how strong you are. Mo Qianshang's hands completely turned into two bone knives. He put the two knives together and a cross-light knife slashed at Han Fei. Boom! Han Fei smashed the cross-light knife with a punch and said with a sneer, "Do you really think you are invincible just because you have 2 layers of shells? Let me tell you today, there is no strongest defense in this world, only the strongest attack." After that, Han Fei stretched out his hand and swallowed a large mass of candle dragon blood into his stomach. Huh! Han Fei stomped on the sandpit under his feet and his fists shone. There seemed to be thousands of torpedoes in the sea, causing the sea to shake and ripple. Boom, 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 clank, 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 Han Fei grinned grimly, ignoring the knife wounds on his body. At this moment, he bombarded Mo Qianshang all the way out. In a moment, Mo Qianshang was blasted back dozens of kilometers. During this time, Han Fei's fists never stopped. Outside the seaweed city wall, many people who were ready to pick up the leftovers were waiting outside. A while ago, they heard that Han Fei had come back. This news spread around like a tsunami. At this moment, everyone on the dragon boat must have known it. A group of 100 people had just arrived at the sea grassland when they heard that Han Fei single-handedly defeated a group of 100 people. Among the 100 people, none of them could defeat him. The newly arrived group of 100 people didn't believe it at first. They had never heard of anyone who could single-handedly defeat a group of 100 people. Even if they wanted to brag, they had to be more convincing, right? As for these people, none of the hunters along the way dared to stop them. At this moment, the leader said to everyone via voice transmission, "Remember, our goal is not to find Han Fei and the others. We are looking for the others on the wanted list. Remember, there are a few people you must not mess with. The first is Han Fei's team, the second is Mo Qianshang's team, and the third is the bastard who calls himself the Sand King." Hum. Hum, the sea was shaking. There were ripples coming and getting stronger and stronger. Someone immediately shouted, "Someone is fighting." The leader immediately transmitted, "Let's go. Let's go and surround them." As soon as this group of 100 people swam dozens of kilometers away, they saw 5 or 6 people coming at them. When these people saw the group of 100 people, they directly crushed their flash stones. Then, within a kilometer, they found that many people were fleeing in panic. One guy was unlucky. When he crushed his flash stone, he directly flashed into the group of 100 people. How the fuck could this be? This person was immediately taken down. However, the man said, "I surrender. I will hand over my sea-swallowing seashell. Let me go, okay?" The leader sneered. "Do you think we are so kind people? How can your sea-swallowing seashell be enough for so many of us?" However, the man shouted, "If you want treasures, go to the front. They are fighting fiercely. You have so many people. It won't be a problem." The leader asked, "Hey, who is in the front? Come with us." "I don't want to go, I don't want to go." "That's Han Fei." "Han Fei?" The leader's face immediately changed. Han Fei and the other 4 rushed out again. "No, it's just that Han Fei rushed out alone and is fighting a man covered in bones." "Huh? One-on-one?" The leader was stunned. Fighting with Han Fei one-on-one, the other person shouldn't be weak. Immediately, this person threw the thing in his hand aside. "Everyone, it's a good time to pick up treasures. Wait for them to fight, wait for them to finish, let's go." Boom. Bam, bam, bam. As soon as the leader's voice fell, he saw 2 figures in the distance flying over at an incredible speed. One of them, the man covered in bones, was smashed to the ground by a fist of 4 or 5 meters in size. The power of this punch even left a scratch hundreds of meters on the ground. However, this was not the end. The golden fist light came one after another, and the guy covered in bones was still able to jump up from the ground and raise his 2 knives to fight back. Boom! Han Fei roared, "No matter how strong your defense is, so what? Today, I will crush you into bone powder." In the stunned gaze of the members of the 100-person team, the guy covered in bones was pressed to the ground again and rubbed against each other. Han Fei's figure was like a twisted dough twist in the sea, and all kinds of strange moves burst out from his body: fists, elbows, knees, back, chops, hammers, lifts, fists. The group of people was dazzled. At this moment, Han Fei was holding a bone knife in both hands, and spiritual energy was surging between his hands, which stunned everyone. In the 100-person team, someone said, "Wow. How much spiritual energy does this guy use? Why do I feel that it's more than all the spiritual energy in my body combined? Wait, who is that guy covered in bones? His defense is so strong." Someone said angrily, "What the hell are you paying attention to? Hurry up and retreat. If you are hit by that fist light, no one will help you collect your corpse." Crack. A violent explosion took place between Han Fei and Mo Qianshang. A big pit was blasted out of the seabed, and a broken bone flew out. In the 100-person team, someone immediately rushed up regardless of the risk, picked up the bone knife with one hand, and stuffed it into the sea-swallowing seashell. However, in the next second, a fist light swept over. Bam! The soul warrior who was about to break through to become a peak-level dangling fisher vomited blood and was sent flying, and the mid-quality battle suit on his body was directly shattered. "Wow, fuck, retreat, fucking retreat, stay away from them." Bam, 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 Mo Qianshang was dumbfounded. He had never seen such a brutal person. What kind of combat skill was this? No, this was not a combat skill at all. This was a pure fist fight, but he just couldn't block it. Gotcha. In his chest, another bone was smashed. Han Fei grinned and put his hands in. Crack, 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 Mo Qianshang's bone armor was directly torn open by Han Fei. Boom. Han Fei's fist passed through the big hole and directly hit Mo Qianshang's chest. In the eyes of outsiders, Mo Qianshang's back bulged as if he had been punched through. The 100-person team in the distance was dumbfounded. Who the hell is this? He's still alive after being beaten like this? Han Fei grinned grimly, grabbed one of Mo Qianshang's feet with one hand, and then swung it up. Bam, 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 the smoke and dust dispersed, and an octopus phantom appeared in the dust, tightly strangling Mo Qianshang. In the mist, cracking sounds kept coming out. Outside, every time there was a sound of bones breaking, many people's eyelids twitched. After a full half an hour, a figure walked out of the smoke and dust. Han Fei dragged Mo Qianshang, who was like a dead fish. At this moment, the man's bones had burst into pieces. Although the silver scales were strong, Mo Qianshang's bones had all been broken. Han Fei glanced at the 100-person team with a fierce look. "What are you looking at?" Chapter 525. Run. In this group of 100 people, everyone's first reaction, including the peak-level dangling fishers, was to tremble. Is this a battle that a dangling fisher can fight? If that fucking punch lands on us, even our bones will be crushed. How can we fight him? At this moment, everyone believed that Han Fei single-handedly defeated a team of 100 people, and they firmly believed it. This was no longer a question of whether they could beat him or not, but that they couldn't beat him at all. Mo Qianshang's bone armor was strong enough, wasn't it? In the eyes of outsiders, they should thank God if they could block Han Fei's punch. How long did Mo Qianshang resist? Half an hour? Half an hour? They didn't know, but they knew it was definitely not a short time. According to Han Fei's attack rhythm, let alone a group of 100 people, even if there was another one, so what? Could he really trap Han Fei? At the moment when Han Fei walked out of the dust and sand, the group of 100 people stacked up and everyone crushed their flash stones. If they didn't leave now, wouldn't they be defeated? Han Fei smiled, curled his lips slightly, looked down at Mo Qianshang, who was already dying, and couldn't help saying, "Not dead yet? Your vitality is very strong." Mo Qianshang had been badly mutilated and didn't look like a human. At this moment, his two eyes were swollen like big buns, but his eyeballs were still shaking slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. Han Fei smiled and said, "I thought you were worth a lot of money, so I was thinking about using you to exchange for the reward on the wanted list. But who would have thought that you turned out to be a half-mermaid?" When Han Fei said the word half-mermaid, Mo Qianshang tried to open his eyes. In Han Fei's mind, a faint voice appeared, "Who are you?" Han Fei squatted down and slowly pressed the blood-drinking knife into Mo Qianshang's chest. "Me? I am the brightest star in the night sky." Han Fei didn't know whether Mo Qianshang was angry with Han Fei or he was dead, but Mo Qianshang's eyes flickered and then he fell silent. On Mo Qianshang's body, the white bones turned into powder and the silver scales withered. After Mo Qianshang died, Han Fei's face slowly became serious. Half-mermaid. Why did this species appear in the level 3 fishery? Where did Mo Qianshang come from? He sensed someone coming. Han Fei waved his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon dagger surrounded Mo Qianshang for a while until he was smashed into pieces. Zhang Xuanyu and Xia Shaochan had just caught up. At this moment, seeing that Han Fei was strangling Mo Qianshang to death, he couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Fei! Why did you crush him?" Han Fei turned around and smiled. "Who knows if he's really dead? I need to make sure nothing goes wrong." After that, Han Fei looked at Xia Shaochan deeply, which made Xia Shaochan feel weird. "What are you looking at?" Those people were already dead. But we met other people. After a fight, I came late. Han Fei shrugged, holding a small box that looked like jade and iron but couldn't be any more simple. "I got it. Let's go back and find Little White and the rest. Let's go out." 2 hours later. Under everyone's gaze, the box directly melted into Luo Xiaobai's body. The moment the box melted into her body, a large amount of seaweed grew under Luo Xiaobai's feet. Within a radius of 100 meters, seaweed was overgrown. Sea anemone bushes emerged from the ground out of thin air, and endless vines burst out of the soil, blooming with blue flowers. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, "These are not Xiaobai's abilities, right?" Han Fei said curiously, it seems that her abilities have improved. Lu Renquang sighed. Xiao Bai is suitable for farming. She will definitely grow very fast. Everyone, about 10 minutes later, Luo Xiaobai's strength began to soar rapidly. She had just stepped into the realm of an advanced dangling fisher before. But now, in just a moment, her aura had completely stabilized at the realm of an advanced dangling fisher. And it was still rising. After half an hour, Luo Xiaobai's aura had already become a half-step junior peak-level dangling fisher. After half an hour, the barrier of the advanced dangling fisher was broken, and Luo Xiaobai entered the ranks of peak-level dangling fishers. Xia Shaochan said enviously, so fast. I worked so hard, but I'm only an advanced one. Zhang Xuanyu rubbed his head. That's too much. She just melted a seed. How did she suddenly reach the peak? However, Luo Xiaobai's aura was still rising. After another half an hour, the vines around them were dancing in the seawater, and blue flowers emerged one after another. And under Luo Xiaobai, the huge blue cannibal flower rose from the ground, raising thousands of vines. There seemed to be starlight on the vines. Bam! The blue cannibal flower suddenly shook, and the vines began to thicken. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. The blue cannibal flower is getting stronger. In Han Fei's eyes, the blue cannibal flower had soared from level 31 all the way to level 36. On the surface, Han Fei was still very calm, but in fact, a storm was set off in his heart. What the hell is that seed? Just by fusing with it, Luo Xiaobai was directly pushed to the bottleneck of a peak-level dangling fisher. Moreover, the level of the blue cannibal flower was raised so quickly. After a full hour, the blue piranha flower finally calmed down. And its level fell directly above level 39. It was only one step away from reaching level 40. Gudu. Luo Xiaobai slowly opened her eyes, a little stunned. It seemed that even she was dumbfounded. Xia Shaochang quickly jumped over. Xiaobai, you are at the peak. Luo Xiaobai came back to her senses. I am at the peak. Luo Xiaobai raised her hand, and thousands of blue vines instantly pierced the seawater. With just a gentle sweep, hundreds of dim lights swept over, and all the seaweed within 100 meters was torn apart. Zhang Xuanyu lamented, it's really infuriating to compare oneself with others. Why haven't I encountered such a level of opportunity? Lu Renquang reached out and fished out a small dried fish from the sea-swallowing seashell and stuffed it into his mouth, as if trying to relieve his surprise by eating. Luo Xiaobai explained with a dazed look, that box seems to be a kind of treasure that protects the soul. At this moment, it is imprinted in my mind. As for the seed, I can't find it. Han Fei suddenly asked, is it in your dantian? Han Fei couldn't help but remember that he also had a seed. That seed was still floating in his dantian. Unfortunately, it was different from Luo Xiaobai's. Luo Xiaobai's seed directly pushed her strength to the peak. Han Fei's seed was just a bystander, not moving at all, as if it didn't exist at all. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. No. The news of Mo Qianshang's death had already caused a storm on the periphery of the seaborne grassland. Those scattered members of the 100 regiments became the main players of the propaganda. At this moment, everyone knew that the top of the wanted list, who had dominated the list for a year, was finally going to be replaced. And the person who replaced him was even more terrifying than Mo Qianshang. Mo Qianshang generally wouldn't cause trouble everywhere, but Han Fei. This guy had been to all the dangerous places in the level 3 fishery. And every time, he could make a big noise. At the same time, the news that a large number of masters on the wanted list died also spread. The Sand King, Chen Hong, Zuan, Wu Qian. These people who were with Mo Qianshang were immediately confirmed to be dead by many people. Secondly, the 5 people who were tied up by Xia Shaochan were killed by Mo Qianshang. Later, when Xia Shaochan and Zhang Xuanyu were fighting other people, someone escaped and told the others about it. So, it was said that the 22nd, the 32nd, the 37th. 6 masters on the wanted list died one after another. In half a day, as many as 12 masters on the wanted list died. This news scared too many people. Were those ordinary fish and prawns? They were all top masters on the wanted list. Each of them was a talented master, but because of Han Fei's arrival, 12 of them died at once. How could people not be horrified? Many people who had surrounded the seaborne grassland all evacuated at this moment. On the way, battles broke out one after another. Many people didn't come to hunt Luo Xiaobai and Mo Qiansheng at all, but to take the opportunity to hunt ordinary explorers. At this moment, tens of thousands of people ran away. Those people certainly wouldn't let go of this opportunity, turning the periphery of the seaborne grassland into an out-and-out killing field. Outside the seaborne grassland, on the surface of the sea, the wind was gentle and the sun was shining on the sea. As many as 30 fishing boats gathered here. Among them, there were 3 ghost speed divine boats. On the bow, Li Hai and Li Baizhou stood together with a rather elegant young man. On the other bows, people from the 7 major sects also appeared here. Among them, there was Gong Yuehan of the Jade Fairy Palace, Yu Xian of the Sea Cloud Tower, Feng Yifei of the Origin Returning Peak. On the fishing boat of the Grand Void Academy, Ji Wenxuan and Tian Yishan stood behind a young man holding a sword. Ji Wenxuan said, "Senior brother Chu Sun, I think we'd better not make the first move." "Humph. How dare you stir up trouble in the name of the Grand Void Academy? Do you want me to let you go?" On other fishing boats, people were also talking about it. Someone said, "Are you sure it's in this direction? Don't let them escape from other places." Someone shook his head. "No, they didn't hide all the way. They're coming in this direction." Someone clenched his fists. "He's too arrogant. We can't spare that bastard this time." Chapter 526. The 5 of them were ferocious to the extreme. At this moment, they all showed their true faces and swam out openly. Along the way, everyone's first reaction when they saw the 5 of them was to run away. Zhang Xuanyu clicked his tongue and said, "Fei Fei. Why do I feel that we have all become big devils?" Lu Renquang nodded. "That's true. Ever since the 2 of them collapsed the undersea city, they've become villains, and we've also become villains." Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. "Shall we go treasure hunting next?" Han Fei shook his head. "No. No." Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang looked at each other and said, "Why not? We are going to explore a few more secret realms and find some opportunities." Han Fei suddenly grinned and said, "Where do you think the biggest opportunity in the level 3 fishery is now?" Zhang Xuanyu said without thinking, "The secret realm in the abyssal chasm." Han Fei rolled his eyes at Zhang Xuanyu. "You almost starved to death. Why are you still thinking about the abyssal chasm?" Zhang Xuanyu shrugged slightly. "Isn't that what you should do? Except for the abyssal chasm, haven't we explored all the big secret realms that can be named? You explored 4 of them alone." Han Fei sneered. "Idiot, now the biggest opportunity is on the dragon boats." "Dragon boats?" Xia Shaochan was stunned for a moment. "Are you really going?" Han Fei grinned hideously. "I have a grudge against the dragon boats. No matter what, before we return to the Blue Sea town, I must sink a dragon boat. Everyone, he's out. That bastard Han Fei is out. He is Fan Datong in disguise. Asshole, I'm going to tear him apart." On many fishing boats, some people's faces turned red, and many people roared. Gong Yuehan was staring at Han Fei. Although she had seen Han Fei's portrait on the wanted list, when she saw him in person, she blushed and then became angry. It was this bastard who stripped her of all her jewelry and snatched her sea-swallowing seashell. At that time, Li Hai and Li Baizhou's eyes were burning with anger, and their bodies were trembling uncontrollably. This bastard had made us suffer from diarrhea for 5 days straight, and we almost lost half of our lives. Chu Sun's face turned cold. It's him. Just as Tianishan was about to persuade him, he sighed and said, Senior brother, this person is extremely strong. You should be careful. Chu Sun snorted. I'm not stupid. The 5 of them looked at this scene in astonishment. Lu Renquang raised his finger. 1, 2, 3. 64. More fishing boats are coming. Zhang Xuanyu bared his teeth. 80% of them are peak-level dangling fishers. Shoot, Xia Shaochan, on the other hand, grabbed the 2 daggers and said, you can treat those advanced and even intermediate ones as peak-level dangling fishers. Gulp. Zhang Xuanyu swallowed. Son of a bitch, are they all peak-level dangling fishers? Ow. Han Fei, I'm coming. Before they took action, another fishing boat flew over from the sky. On one of the boats, Yang Diyu raised his big axe and pointed at Han Fei. Shameless guy, you had an unfair advantage last time. Today, I'm going to fight you for 3,000 rounds and beat you into a fish head. Flying over with Yang Diyu's fishing boat were the fishing boats of Mo Fian, Sun Mu, Chen Aochen, and Yi Baiyu. Han Fei said to everyone, this group is from the major sects of the Thousand-Star City, and that group is from the big clans of the Thousand-Star City. Lu Renquang's lips trembled. I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, you have pissed off the entire Thousand-Star City alone. Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely, not one person, but 2 people. Xia Shaochan glanced at Zhang Xuanyu. Do you have a problem with that? Zhang Xuanyu smiled awkwardly. No, I don't have a problem with that. That's right. How can I fight so many people? They are all peak-level dangling fishers. Not that I'm bragging, but each of them can kill me with a single punch. Han Fei said, the disciples of the major sects are easy to deal with. Those people haven't had much experience and are stupid. They can fight one-on-one, but they will never fight in a group. Especially since the 7 major sects are all here, they are even more reluctant to fight each other. Luo Xiaobai, who had been silent, said, don't underestimate the major sections. If we fight, we won't be able to get away if we run out of spiritual energy. Of course, the problem is still the disciples of the big clans. These guys are all lawless. The best thing to do now is to run away quickly. Han Fei grinned. I've been running since I entered the level 3 fishery. Now I finally don't have to run anymore. Why should I run? As he spoke, there were cries from the sky. Han Fei, Xia Shaochan, I'm coming to save you. Then everyone saw a red shadow descending from the sky. It was a red fishing boat, which looked a bit like Han Fei's wind god boat. Zhang Xuanyu and Xia Shaochan were stunned. Wind god boat? Xia Shaochan asked, when did you give Chao Qiu a wind god boat? Han Fei was dumbfounded. I didn't give it to him. Chao Qiu controlled the fishing boat and swished to Han Fei's side. Chao Qiu beamed and said, I knew you would definitely come out of the abyssal chasm. I knew it when Zhang Xuanyu appeared in the sea grassland. What do you think of my fishing boat? I just listened to his description and I made it. Isn't it awesome? Han Fei's lips twitched. Little fatty, do I know you very well? Chao Qiu was taken aback. Stop pretending. The whole world knows that you and Xia Shaochan are the black and white ghosts. By the way, I sneaked out. This time I brought you my latest invention. With that said, Chao Qiu took out a bunch of black balls and said, this is the upgraded version of the Poison King smoke. I recently had an epiphany and discovered the flow law of gas, so I devoted myself to studying it and finally invented this Poison King smoke. Everyone, Xia Shaochan hurriedly jumped to the side, trembling all over. In her eyes, although Chao Qiu was not good at fighting, he was still a first-class villain. The fact that the Poison King made countless people on the 200th floor of the steps into the sea waste for half a month was enough to scare her. Shoo! Han Fei quickly summoned a water wall to block in front of him and quickly said to Chao Qiu, "Come on, give me some." Seeing that Han Fei liked it very much, Chao Qiu was immediately angry and had an unparalleled sense of achievement. Unlike those bastards who always thought that their inventions were useless, Han Fei had a good eye. So Chao Qiu took out hundreds of Poison King smoke at once and gave it to Han Fei. Han Fei quickly put it away. "If there is smoke, will they be poisoned?" Chao Qiu chuckled. "It is colorless, odorless, and smokeless. Don't worry about it." Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang were stunned by Han Fei and Chao Qiu's actions. Lu Renkuang couldn't help asking, "What is the Poison King? What is the Poison King?" Zhang Xuanyu also said, "Yes. They are not spiritual weapons. Even if they all explode, they can't hurt many people, can they?" However, Xia Shaochan sent a voice transmission to them, and Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang took several steps back with a swish. Zhang Xuanyu quickly said, "Fei Fei. Remember to tell us when you use it to avoid accidental injury." Lu Renkuang nodded repeatedly. Yes, that's right. Tell me first." "I'll go first." Han Fei said mysteriously, "You have to catch them off guard to use it." Then Han Fei looked at Chao Qiu. "Ha! Why are you all near the sea grassland?" While talking, Han Fei removed the water wall and looked at the sky. Chao Qiu said, "Of course. All 4 members of the Thug Legend are here. The disciples of the major sects and big clans in the Thousand-Star City are waiting for you so that they can capture you in one fell swoop." Suddenly, a cold voice came from the sky. "Qiu Qiu, come back." Looking at the source of the voice, another Ghost Speed Divine boat arrived. On the Ghost Speed Divine boat, Han Fei saw Chao Tian and a gentle and lovely girl in a turquoise gauze dress. The girl's temperament was different from that of beauties such as Xia Shaochan, Luo Xiaobai, Mo Fian, and Gong Yuehan. There was gentleness on her face, but there was also tranquility between her eyebrows. She was also holding a purple flute in her hand, which surprised Han Fei. Han Fei wasn't quite sure what it was. Anyway, it was a bit similar to a flute and a flute. If it was a weapon, it was the first time that Han Fei had seen it. Chao Qiu stuck out his tongue. "My sister is here. I have to go back. This is all I can do for you." Yang Diyu shouted loudly, "Chao Qiu, hurry up and get out of my way. Otherwise, you'll be hurt by me later." Bam! A fist light flashed across the sky and rushed straight at Yang Diyu. The latter screamed, "Chao Tian, you're so protective of your brother. I just said a few words." Over there, when dozens of fishing boats were about to approach, another Ghost Speed Divine boat came from the sky. Someone exclaimed, "Tangu. Why is he here?" Chapter 527. Mu Ling also came with Tangu. To their surprise, Tangu drove the fishing boat directly to Han Fei's side. The two exchanged glances, and Tangu said, "Disciples of the major sects, I'll do it." Li Baizhou asked, "Tangu, Miss Mu, what do you mean?" Mu Ling stood at the bow of the boat, looking at the group of people opposite her and saying, "Han Fei saved me on the steps into the sea. I owe him a favor. Today, if any disciple of the major sects wants to help me, think about it first." Tangu held the halberd and stood next to Mu Ling. "If you want to help me, you can ask the halberd in my hand. Also, disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect, come here." On the opposite 2 fishing boats, about a dozen disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect directly controlled the fishing boats to come behind Tangu. Someone said, "Tangu, what's going on? Which son of a bitch touched Sister Ling?" Someone pointed to the disciples of the other major sects and said, "Fine. How dare you attack Sister Ling? Then don't blame us for being rude." Of course, There were also a few disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect who didn't have a good impression of Han Fei. Among them, 5 of them had been robbed by Han Fei, especially the little girl who had been touched by Han Fei. Her eyes were wide open and she looked very reluctant. Han Fei just pretended not to see it. I've robbed too many people. How can I remember which one is which? The girl snorted. Since you saved Sister Ling, I will help you, but I still think you are a bad guy. Han Fei grinned. Who are you? The girl trembled with anger. You robbed me. How dare you ask me who I am? On the other side, Gong Yuehan said coquettishly, Mu Ling, why are you protecting this shameless man? Mu Ling smiled faintly. Yuehan, you have to return a favor. I don't care if you want to settle accounts with them at other times, but today, I will. Chao Qiu shouted, yes, yes, Han Fei also helped me and saved me. At that time, I was chased by disciples of several sections. Yes, chased. Which sect are they from? It seems to be the Sea Cloud Tower and the Origin Returning Peak. Immediately, the people from the Sea Cloud Tower and the Origin Returning Peak were speechless. Chao Qiu, speak clearly. When did we chase you? Chao Qiu, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't talk nonsense. Chao Qiu, you just want to help them, don't you? Chao Qiu interrupted and then looked at Chao Tian. Chao Tian scratched his head. There was nothing he could do. Since the name was already out, should he do anything about it? However, Chao Qiu's sister casually knocked Chao Qiu's head with the flute in her hand. You are the smartest one. Why do you have to get involved in everything? Chao Qiu raised his head. It's true. 2 swords can testify for me. When Chao Qiu said this, a fishing boat shook in the sky. Everyone looked up and saw the fishing boat slowly landing. Wang Zitian's face was ugly and he cursed in his heart. Chao Qiu, you bastard, why did you drag me into this? However, Wang Zitian could only cooperate and said, N. It seems to be the case. Wang Zitian stood on Tang Jiyi's side, thought for a long time, and finally said, I'm also from the Heavenly Sword sect. Many people rolled their eyes. Like hell I'd believe you. Sure, you're from the Heaven's Sword sect, but you've always been classified as a disciple of a great clan, okay? Don't drag me into the Heavenly Sword sect for no reason. On Chao Qiu's side, Chao Tian said lightly, disciples of major sects are not allowed to attack. Immediately, someone among the disciples of the major sects sneered. Fine, fine, fine. Tang Gu and Chao Tian, do you think the 2 of you can stop so many of us? Mu Ling smiled lightly and said, not 2 people, but a total of 17 people. It shouldn't be a problem for them to beat you. Zhang Xuanyu said, damn, I like this girl. She's so domineering. Pa, Han Fei slapped Zhang Xuanyu on the head. No, you don't like it, or I think you'll be beaten to death. Zhang Xuanyu muttered, I mean, admire, Lu Renquang sighed. However, there seemed to be a lot of disciples from the big clans in the 1,000-star city. Han Fei said with a smile, it's good enough that someone helped you. Why are you so picky? Let me think about these disciples from the big clans. Han Fei wasn't surprised that Tang Gu would come to help. It was a complete accident that Chao Qiu came to help. Maybe this kid was a little too straightforward. As for Wang Zitian, Han Fei had never counted on him. Even if he came, he could only stop 3 disciples of the major sects at most. If he used his trump cards, he might only be able to stop 1 disciple from the big clans at most. Han Fei jumped to the sea, walked forward step by step, and said, What? You all want to fight with me? If you want to fight, let's make a deal. Of course, if a group of disciples from the major sects and big clans from the 1,000-star city insist on ganging up on me, it's not impossible. If you dare to come here shamelessly, I will play with you here at the risk of my life. With that said, behind Han Fei, chains appeared in the air. The blood-drinking knife appeared at his waist, the embroidery needle in his hand, and he looked at these people coldly. However, I don't need the help of Chao Tian and Mu Ling from the 7 major sections. I, Han Fei, have a bet with you today. Do you dare to bet with me? On the side of the Grand Void Academy, Chu Sun said solemnly, what bet? Han Fei smiled and said, the 5 of us will fight against the 50 of the 7 major sections. If you lose, hand over your sea-swallowing seashells and withdraw from the battle. If we lose, we will give you all our sea-swallowing seashells. How about that? Han Fei didn't want to owe anyone a favor. As Mu Ling said, it was easy to borrow a favor but hard to return it. Han Fei didn't care about Tang Gu, but he definitely didn't want to owe Mu Ling and Chao Tian anything. Besides, Han Fei had a lot of sea-swallowing seashells anyway. Even if he lost, he could give one to each of them. Do you think you can go to Forge the Universe to get it? Tang Gu immediately said to him via voice transmission, Han Fei, don't be capricious. The disciples of the major sects are not that simple. Besides, even if you win, there are still disciples from the big clans. Han Fei responded, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Speaking of which, you haven't seen my true strength yet. It's not easy for us to meet, so I have to let you see it so that you can go back and cultivate, right? Tang Gu shook his head slightly. He didn't think it would be a problem for Han Fei to win against the disciples of the major sections. What he was really worried about was Sun Mu and the others, who were far more powerful than the disciples of the major sections. If these people dared to attack him, he would definitely take action. Even if they knew the relationship between Han Fei and him, so what? He never wanted to hide it, but Han Fei didn't want to. 5 against 50. Many of the people present gasped. Just how big of a heart did he have to be to dare to say something like that? Do you really think the disciples of the major sects are the same as those 100-person teams in the level 3 fishery? On the side of the Heavenly Sword sect, someone was speechless. Is this guy's head stuck in his sea-swallowing seashells? 5 against 50. How could he think of that? The girl who had been bullied by Han Fei stomped her feet. Idiot, he will be beaten to death. When Han Fei said this, he said to Xia Shaochan and the others via voice transmission, you can fight, right? Have you learned the majestic mystic spell? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Lu Rinquang and I haven't learned it yet, but it's not a big problem. If the Heavenly Sword sect doesn't participate, there will be 6 major sections. Except for the 6 leaders, the others won't be difficult to defeat. However, after this battle, I'm afraid some of them will be injured. Han Fei nodded. It's okay. These people are stupid and have learned too many rules. If it were those people on the dragon boat, I wouldn't have made this request to them at all. Chu Sun was the first to agree. Okay. The Grand Void Academy will fight. Han Fei, you asked for it. When Chu Sun agreed, Zhang Wen and Mo Fian both said at the same time, idiot. Mo Fian said directly, Chu Sun, is there something wrong with your head? However, Chu Sun looked straight at Mo Fian. This is a sex trial, so is a battle. If 50 people can't even beat 5 people, it means that we haven't practiced enough and should concentrate on the trial. Yu Xian took a step forward. The Sea Cloud Tower agrees. Feng Yifei nodded. The Origin Returning Peak also agrees. The Mountain Sea Pavilion agrees. The Death Door sect agrees. When only Gong Yuehan was left, she frowned. What does Han Fei mean? Does he really have the confidence to challenge 50 people with the strength of 5 people? Could it be that each of the other 4 people was as strong as Han Fei? Senior sister, shall we fight? Senior sister, it seems that we have an unfair advantage. Senior sister, the other major sects have all participated. I'm afraid it's not good if we don't participate. Gong Yuehan took a slight breath and looked at Han Fei. Okay. But this time, just take it as an experience. Since you didn't kill anyone on the steps into the sea, we won't kill you this time. When Gong Yuan said this, Mo Fian and the others were speechless. What a group of fools. Their brains must have been clamped by sea-swallowing seashells. Only Yang Diyu was very excited. Interesting. No wonder he can fight with me for 300 rounds. Bam! Yang Diyu suddenly swayed, looked back, and said angrily, Mo Fian, why did you kick me? Mo Fian scoffed. I don't like you. Yang Diyu. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.